It is starting.
Yep, I just got the notification that we're live on Twitter.
Live on Twitter. All right. Well, what do you want to call this? Draft live coverage from downtown Rams? I don't know, but this is Alexis Kraft. She flew into New York all the way from St. Louis. So, welcome, Alexis Kraft.
Thanks, Jake.
So yeah, we're really excited to get this thing going. Obviously, we're waiting for the actual draft to happen. We don't dictate who gets drafted where or any of the picks. If you are tuning into this thing, it's really going to be a lax, I would say, pretty lax. We're going to be giving our reactions. We'll be giving analysis, but this is by no means the NFL Network where we're at a desk and we got our papers and our suits or anything. It's not anything like that. So we're really excited to do this. Obviously, we're probably gonna hit play and see where this thing goes. But I'll leave it to you. Just floor's yours as I send all these. I'm gonna send this link out to all social media. So you guys, if you aren't listening or you're seeing this afterwards, that's why. So
Right. Well, obviously, right now, if you're watching on live television as we are, Roger Goodell is about to come out and announce that the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. So he hasn't come out and done that yet. They are running a little bit behind, but he should be doing that soon. So you know, there's really not much to say about this pick because it could be a source of controversy or it could be not. That's the only way to put it. I mean, Jake, as you know, that uh, there's rumors about who the Arizona Cardinals are going to select, and it's a bit controversial.
yeah, I think we pretty much all know who they're gonna select at this point, but Eh, I mean, you never know. Stranger things have happened. I mean, no one thought Derwin James would be their 17th overall pick last year for the Chargers. So,
Right.
I guess anything can happen there. Um, so yeah, I guess we're gonna wait. We don't have the TV on. Like we have the TV on, but we don't have the volume on. So
Correct.
we don't want to annoy you. That's kind of the thing. So we'll do that with our voices, not
Yeah. Well, we'll
TV.
annoy you enough with our commentary. But it's interesting because there's a lot of, we're kind of looking at it as there's only two picks that they can make, right? They can take nobody thinks they're going to do in Kyler Murray, or they can take, probably if they don't take Murray, they're going to take Bosa. But an option that hasn't been discussed is the Arizona Cardinals trading down.
That hasn't been discussed,
It
but
hasn't been
I don't think
discussed. It
that's happening.
should be because they're a team with many needs. Why not get as many draft picks as possible? So
So here it comes.
he's gonna announce that they're on the clock, and if they don't take Kyler Murray, chaos is gonna ensue,
Yeah, yeah,
which
and
we like.
also down below we got our little ticker going on. That is everybody on Downtown Rams that sent in a first round mock draft. We're gonna have that going tomorrow. We'll kind of mix it up a little bit. Obviously, we're not gonna have a first round mock draft when the first round already happened. Maybe a way too early mock draft. Maybe a big board. I don't know, but it won't be that. So you know,
Right.
but we're definitely we're looking forward to this thing kicking off, and of course we can't hear any of it. So
Yeah,
that's
that's an interesting aspect of this, but um, you know, we are downtown Rams, obviously, so we are mostly Rams based.
mm,
The Rams don't pick for a while unless they trade up, but assuming no trades happen, they pick at 31, but they might not even pick at all tonight, which is interesting. Another
yeah.
possibility that we're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't see it, but don't turn off that TV just yet because I mean, if you're a Rams fan out there, and many of you are, the Rams could pick tonight. There are some guys out there that I could definitely see them going. An Eric McCoy, at inside, interior offensive line, and then Ja'Kai Polite is somebody that I think people are really low on, like just fans in general. But it just takes just one team to make that, pull the trigger, make that pick, and he graded out as my number 4 overall edge rusher. So I think definitely he could be there, and he could be the pick. I mean,
Yeah.
he was the only one that seemed to, be the Rams, quote unquote, didn't trash him like everyone else. So,
Right.
we'll see about that. But there's definitely some interesting things that can happen, and that's why the draft. It's like watching an NFL game, right? Because you're watching the draft, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen in a game. It
Mm-hmm.
just kind of unfolds. So it's an event in itself, and we're really looking forward to reacting to it and everything. And
Right.
but it's not just Rams. It's not going to be Rams centric. We do love our Rams fans out there, but we want this to be a full on draft experience. Anybody that tunes in, first off, you guys are awesome because I mean there's so many places that are airing this, and the fact that you're tuning into us, we really appreciate that. But it's not just tonight. We'll be here tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be a little better at this thing. More experience under our belt. This is brand new, and then we'll be here Saturday as well. So, super hyped for that, and like let's roll. Talk about your. Let's just talk about your five favorite prospects in this draft.
Well, before we do that, I want to point something out. We have our NFL network over here. So if you see Jake and I looking over here
Oh
at
yeah,
her, that's because that's where our big screen is. Arizona Cardinals are on the clock now, by the way. So if you ever see Jake or I look this way, that's because that's where we're watching the draft.
yeah.
That's where our TV is, and you know that's how now we know the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. But my top five favorite prospects. Man, I guess it just depends on what you are looking for. I would say
I put you on the spot, and I apologize. You'll be able to put me on the spot plenty of times. We have 4 hours, so this is
um,
gonna be. You're here with us for the long haul.
I would say that my favorite prospects number one is going to be the same. That's going to be
Who would you say?
Dalton Reisner.
Dalton Reisner as your number one overall prospect.
That's my. Oh, are we talking about favorite or like who I think is the best in the draft?
Best in the draft.
Oh, oh man. Nick Bosa is probably the for me. That's the safest option. Um, and then after Nick Bosa, I mean, I think Quinnen Williams is pretty safe.
Well,
He's a stud. I
yeah.
mean, there's not much wrong with his game. And then I'd say after him, Ed Oliver. And that's someone who I think a lot of people like. Some people maybe are think he's overrated. I don't. I think he's awesome. I think he's very
This
talented.
triple teaming says otherwise.
Right. And then if I'm, next, so my fourth, maybe a guy like Byron Murphy. That'd be my fourth. And then I'd say fifth, I'm gonna spice it up. I'm gonna say DK Metcalf, and I know people won't agree with that because he had. We'll talk about it
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
but maybe like him or like TJ Hawkinson is actually who I kind of was gonna say too. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, TJ is definitely a favorite of mine for sure. I think everyone knows at one point I had him mocked to the Rams, and now that doesn't even look possible. But I think in this draft, what you have to look at is the start because obviously Kyler Murray goes number one. If he goes number one, now you're looking at San Francisco. They have to make a tough decision. Are they going to go with Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa's brother, who honestly, he sat out the year to prepare for the draft. He's a physical freak, obviously, but he's not my number one edge guy. It's actually Brian Burns, and I know I got a lot of heat for that because people are like, this is easy. You're trying too hard, and
Right.
to that I would just say, look, Brian Burns is somebody that I think has unbelievable bend. He RAS scored just out of the water. And by the way, you have to go follow at MathBomb. He does all the RAS scores. Kent LaPlatte, so definitely go follow him. Shout out to him. But he graded elite. Like he's an elite talent. He's an elite athlete. And I think the weirdest thing about Brian Burns is people want to compare him to Harold Landry. And I really like Harold Landry coming out last year, but Harold Landry fell to the second round, and there were some injury concerns. Brian Burns is as sure thing in this draft as there could be. So, I definitely, I mean, people have him falling to like the late first. I don't see it. I think he goes relatively early. I could definitely see him going in the top five. I could see him falling out, but this guy is really, I think he's can't miss. I would say that for sure.
I'd agree. And I'm hearing feedback that there's volume issues on our Facebook, that the audio is quite low.
Oh,
So we will work
quite
on
low.
we
Yeah,
will
so
work on fixing that.
we will
Um,
yeah.
Gotten a few messages on there about that. But what's interesting right now is that there's 5 minutes left in this on this clock, and Arizona the pick is not in yet.
That is interesting, but the
They,
Rams did this with Jared Goff,
it's a
so
yeah.
you
There's
know.
it adds to the suspense, it adds to the drama, but. Being someone who's into conspiracies, I know you are as well, Jake. Um, there, this to me could signify maybe they're fielding trade offers.
You think so?
I don't really think so, but
I think
I
they're
want to
just
play devil's
the
advocate.
NFL is telling them you have to wait. We all know it's Kyler Murray, but you have to wait. So you keep things interesting.
Right. Well,
Like they made the Rams were going with Jared Goff, and in the past the Colts were able to sign Andrew Luck before the draft.
mm-hmm.
The Panthers signed Cam Newton, and that's a normal thing. I believe the Rams signed Sam Bradford before the draft, but the thing with this one, and the same thing with Jared Goff Carson Wentz affair was, the NFL wants it to be more spontaneous, and while that's not really realistic because we all find things via Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that. That's just kind of how they want to play their cards. So
Right, and that's what I assume it is. But clock is still running. It could be for dramatic effect. But here is something else. If Kyler Murray is not picked number one overall, chaos is going to ensue for sure. Because every team is banking on that. Because of him being picked number one, they are basing who they're going to pick after that. But there's no movement as we see this in
the
that
stock
war room.
footage there in the war room.
Stock footage.
It's a meme like this today anyway. It just the NFL Network keeps showing stock footage and it just cracks me up because it's just like they're just sitting there and that's already been recorded. There's nothing going on, so
Right.
But so yeah, so it looks like Arizona is
Still on the clock.
they're still on the clock.
They're trying to make us sweat. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that audio issue is fixed. People will have to let me know. But
yeah, this is all new to us, so we're gonna go through the.
It's a new system we're working with.
Yeah, very new. So we'll see. You know, trying to get everything up and all situated. Obviously, the draft hasn't even started yet. No one's been picked, so.
Look at Kyler. I know if you guys are also watching the draft, Kyler looks. He's not gotten a phone call.
He looks very bummed about that too. So. I would love to be able to interact with people on Facebook and Twitter because they're gonna drop comments, but it's you have to
It's
find
hard,
that happy medium. I see you guys and appreciate you. It's definitely not easy for sure. So.
All right. Well,
as this thing
they're
winds
making
down.
a call. Arizona's making a call.
All right, that's not stock footage, my friends. That's the real thing.
That's real.
So, yeah, we'll see.
Well, they are making a call, but the pick isn't in, so maybe they just haven't announced that yet, or who knows? But
they all know. I want to see.
Know.
I want to see the reaction if Kyler isn't the pick.
If Kyler Murray is not the number one overall pick at this point, madness is going to ensue. Maybe not rightfully so, but madness all over the interweb, because we've all kind of been expecting it. And you know who's going to breathe a sigh of relief? Maybe not a sigh of relief. It's going to be Josh Rosen, because he's glued to his television screen.
Well,
right now.
I think he definitely wants to stay, and I think for more reason than one. I mean, first off, it's your the place that drafts you. You always have that kind of that place in your heart for that team. They're the team that brought you into the league, and more so with the Arizona Cardinals, they trade up to get Josh Rosen,
right?
And in that sense, it's kind of like they're just they traded up to get him. Same thing with the Bills with Josh Allen. You kind of feel that extra. Wow, this team really wanted me. They gave up assets to acquire me. So, obviously that is the unfortunate thing. But also, I mean, just think about Cliff Kingsbury and how his offense is going to transition the NFL. I mean, I think, he was fired and he didn't have the best record at Texas Tech, but people need to keep in mind that, the Big 12 in general is just a tough conference. Oklahoma, TCU, I mean, it's every year with teams like that. West Virginia, Kansas State,
Right.
So I mean, I don't put too much of that. Obviously, Texas is quote unquote back, so there's he gets a lot of buzz and everything, but
Right. Well, I just want to point something out that okay, so I'm not sure what happened, but there was a minute left in the clock for Arizona. It just reset to 10 minutes. So I don't know if they what the deal is there. I don't know if they meant to let the clock run out or if a different team got the pick or what. But pick is in. Okay, so it was an
all right.
accident.
So here we go.
We are
Here,
moving our mic.
yep, we're gonna move our mic because we want you guys to feel the full experience and everything, and
We are trying. We are getting the
we
feedback.
we hear your feedback, and
Keep giving us feedback if the issues are persisting.
yeah,
I'll just start screaming. If not, just
bloody
if
murder.
I'll scream everything I say. I'm not afraid to do it. Pick is in, Jake. And by the way, as we said, because we're in a studio, we can't hear what Roger Goodell is saying
Yeah.
because we have all of this going on. So we will have to see it probably a second delayed when it pops up at the bottom of the screen.
That's an interesting choice of
Outfit?
hoodie or no, I mean hoodie, suit. He's got like
If
a
you-
cardinal suit going.
If you guys aren't watching this, there's a man in a very colorful cardinal suit on the television
Yeah.
right now in NFL.
Just giving you
Draft
all the
Network.
takes there.
Roger Goodell is coming on to the stage. I'm nervous. I'm not even a Cardinals fan. I'm shaking.
If it's not Kyler Murray, guys, I mean, I want to know who didn't have Kyler Murray going there.
Oh no.
We had one of our guys, part of the mock draft, and I mean, even
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, there it is.
Shocker.
So coming to the NFC West, you have Jared Goff, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, Russell Wilson, newly brought back on that contract, and now Kyler Murray. So you have two guys that are kind of similar.
Right.
I think that's definitely going to help out the Rams because they've already seen Russell Wilson, and same thing with the 49ers. They've already seen Russell Wilson, so you have an idea of what to prepare for. But make no mistake, this is awesome for the Cardinals. I'm really interested to see if Rosen gets traded in this draft, or they try and wait and try to push his draft stock, or his trade stock. But I think this is definitely the right pick.
I think it's definitely the right pick for the Cardinals. I want to point out two things. You mentioned Josh Rosen possibly being traded this draft. Look at a team to look for in that is the New York Giants. The New York Giants now have 2 first-round picks, so they could be looking to get rid of one of those for Josh Rosen. They're a team that needs a quarterback, or people think they need a quarterback. They don't think so as much, supposedly. But Josh Rosen originally wanted to be a New York Giant. He wanted to be in New York. New York wanted him, but they ended up taking Saquon Barkley. If they give away a pick, they can now end up with Barkley and Josh Rosen, which are the 2 guys they really wanted from last year's draft. So now that they have Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray, they are obviously getting rid of Josh Rosen. So now we just have to see, who ends up taking him. It could be any team. It could be a team like the Redskins have also expressed interest in Josh Rosen. Miami, that's something to look out for. Now I think we have to talk a little bit about Kyler Murray as a prospect, because for a guy to go number 1 overall, that's a really big deal, especially a guy who originally was not going to be in the NFL. He was planning on playing Major League Baseball, changed his decision to go number 1 overall. So, Jake, I'll let you talk a little bit about why you think maybe he chose to play football, and if you think that's the best decision that he could have made.
Yeah, so, first things first, going number 1 overall. By the way, shout out to Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma. They've now had 2 back-to-back number 1 overall picks. Baker Mayfield last year and Kyler Murray. But, Kyler Murray, he made the right decision. A lock. You could be in, AAA. You could get stuck there. You could have an injury. You go back to single A, double A, triple A, and you never get to the majors. So, he would have had a lot of money up front. But I think this is his best opportunity. You go to the NFL, look at how much money Russell Wilson just got paid.
Correct.
If he works out, this is absolutely the right move. And I think it's the right move because you look at his abilities, and he's a great baseball player. I think he's a much better football player. I mean, he's the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. So he brings another level of athleticism that we only see with, guys like Michael Vick and Russell Wilson. I keep bringing up Russell Wilson, but it's true. I mean, there's not many guys like that. And you talk about his stature, not really worried about it. Had the most batted balls in this draft class is actually Daniel Jones, who's 6'5". It's not really about, throwing over the offensive line, seeing the offensive line. It's more so about, finding throwing lanes. And that may sound kind of weird to people, but you got to find, you got to move in the pocket. You have to manipulate the pocket, and you have to be able to find those throwing lanes. And, that's what I expect, Kyler Murray to do with the Arizona Cardinals.
Correct. And something interesting to point out that no one really seems to talk about when it comes to Kyler Murray's baseball versus football decision is it's not technically correct to say that he can't do both. Because you think about it, you have much more longevity playing Major League Baseball. You can play until you're much older in the NFL. In the NFL, say, quarterbacks, I mean, you can play a long time, but say Kyler Murray plays football and he either accomplishes everything he wants to accomplish, decides that he doesn't want to do anymore, or XYZ, baseball is still an option for him. He definitely is the type of guy that baseball, the athletics or whoever will have an eye on. He technically could still do both. We've seen it happen before in professional sports. So he might not even be giving up baseball like we think he is. He might just be pushing it off a decade or so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Another thing, you mentioned Russell Wilson. That's who Kyler Murray kind of reminds me of. He gets compared to Russell Wilson all the time. He's a little undersized. That's kind of the main criticism he gets. But like Jake said, I don't really think it matters. So I think it's interesting. I think that Arizona is an interesting fit because you have Kingsbury, who loved Kyler Murray, said multiple times he would take him number one if in the draft if he was in the NFL. Kingsbury then becomes the Arizona Cardinals head coach, so it's really not that shocking that he went to Arizona. But now, as if you're watching, you see that San Francisco's pick is in. Jake, thoughts? Who do you think this is going to be?
I think it's Bosa, but who would I pick? And I mocked them Bosa because that's where I believe they'll go. But, I would pick Quinnen Williams here. I think Quinnen Williams is the best player in the draft. The only knock on him is really that he had 1 year of production, but it was elite production. And, Nick Bosa did sit out the year. So, I mean, I don't want to get too much into that. And I definitely won't talk about the political things there because I don't care. Bottom line is the dude can play football. But I would definitely take Quinnen Williams here. I think he is a better fit. Imagine putting him next to, DeForest Buckner. I think that would be huge. You want to get guys that are going to put pressure on, the interior. So, you get Aaron Donald. I call it crashing the boards. It's when you completely, disrupt the pocket. And that's something Aaron Donald's been doing since he entered the league. And for somebody that, runs like Kyler Murray and, Russell Wilson, I think that makes the most sense. But we'll see here as the 49ers selection is about to be in.
We'll see.
Well, it's in now. It's about to be announced.
I mean, I'm going to say it's either Bosa or Williams. I don't think that there'd be anybody else that would even be.
And it's Nick Bosa.
So I had that in my mock. Who did you have, Bosa or Williams?
I had Bosa.
Okay, so we're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Go us.
Yeah, well, now here's the interesting thing.
I jinxed it now.
Because now it's all downhill from here. But the Jets, they've been trying to trade out of this pick since they got it. And you kind of see Quinnen Williams there. Similar thing happened a few drafts ago. They had Leonard Williams out of USC. And, Leonard Williams was one of the best players. He might have been the best player in that draft. And he fell right into their lap at 6. Same thing happens that, falls right into their lap. Jamal Adams, who might have been the best player in that trade. So, they've been having guys fall in their lap, and albeit they're picking third, so it's not exactly a shock that they're going to get an elite, prospect, but Quinnen Williams would definitely be pretty, they'd be stoked to have him. But it'll be interesting because, Brian Burns, you talk about Josh Allen, those guys are options. So we'll definitely have to see.
Yes. If the Jets stay there, I have them taking Quinnen Williams. I think he's just too good of a player to pass up, in my opinion. But I could see the Jets trading out. Also, I am about to go drop this link on our Instagram. We haven't done that yet. I'm aware that's happening now. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think this is a good pick, obviously, for the 49ers. Don't make, any doubt about it. But, I think Quinnen Williams definitely would have been the better option. That would have been the option I would have went. I wearing him to his brother Joey, so Hopefully he in disguise was Jimmy G. I'm not saying it's great that he tore his ACL, but it was that they lost Jimmy G for the year and that they really never had a chance to compete. I don't think last year was their year. I think people were crowning them too early, and it allowed them to go out and get a guy like Nick Bosa in this draft that they wouldn't have had if they played Jimmy G if they had him the whole year. So they weren't ready, and then they go out and they get this elite prospect, and now they could make some noise because they're not a bad roster. They clearly just lost their starting quarterback, and that hurt them. Um, but we're definitely we're definitely interested to see what the Jets do, because I mean I could definitely see them trading that. We've been talking about that, and I mean, where do you think they would go? Because Quinnen and then Edge. I know you mentioned you had Quinnen, but like, where else could they go besides those three?
I think so. I'm friends with a lot of Jets fans, and some of them are convinced the pick is going to be Jonah Williams,
Interesting.
which is interesting. Or I could see a Josh Allen going. Maybe they had their sights on Nick Bosa, who was an edge as well, so they could go edge and take Josh Allen.
Hmm.
Another one interesting that probably I don't foresee this guy being picked over Quinnen Williams, but is Ed Oliver.
Oh, I forgot about Ed Oliver, and he's my number two player in the draft. So when you have Quinnen Williams and Ed Oliver, and then Burns is my number three, and then Bosa is my number four. Ed Oliver, I won't say he's can't miss, but like he was just taking on triple teams, at Houston. There was that sideline issue with his jacket or whatever, that weird thing. I don't really, make too much of that. I know some people are saying that, he is, a head case, or he's, hard to, coach or whatever. But I mean, talent is talent. When you're that good, like Ed Oliver, I mean, he's the closest thing we've seen to Aaron Donald's athletic profile.
I agree.
So,
Um,
you
I,
know,
I have him very closely ranked with Quinnen Williams. I have Quinnen Williams slightly above Ed Oliver, but I think they're both going to be instant starters in the NFL. I think they're both going to contribute a lot to whatever team they go to. I do think Quinnen Williams is going to be the pick here. It doesn't look like they are trading the pick as of now. They might trade the pick last minute, but I think if the Jets keep this pick, it has to be Quinnen Williams without a doubt.
yeah, I mean, I would like Quinnen Williams there, but we'll definitely see. They could go multiple places. I would not be surprised if they trade down, though. I think
They're trying. That's what the rumor is.
Oakland to me, and who they pick next. Oakland to me with three first rounders. That's an interesting premise here, because you have to keep in mind three first rounders nets you three fifth-year options with the players.
Right.
So that's both very exciting, but it's also going to be a lot of money you're paying because you have three first rounders to pay. So
Right.
this is the same organization that didn't want to pay Khalil Mack. Not sure if they want to pay three first rounders. So we'll see. And I think if you trade down from say four, and you trade down to say just Denver, right? You trade with Denver. They're picking at like 10, and that's not bad. You get more picks. It'll be interesting to see what Mayock and Gruden end up doing for sure.
Yeah, the Raiders are the most interesting team for me in this draft. Three first round picks is interesting enough, but if you look at who they have to replace, Khalil Mack, that is not a guy that you normally see get traded in the NFL. So
No.
I know that Oakland isn't up yet, but a big need for them obviously is that edge rush. I don't know. There's also talk that the Raiders are looking to take a quarterback. And we don't know if that's true. That's a rumor. There's a ton of rumors on draft Twitter, draft week, anything and everything. So we have no idea. But all I know right now is that there's 2 minutes. I know that our feed is a little bit behind the actual clock, but it's about 2 minutes left on the New York Jets clock. And I don't know if that's a suspense thing. I don't know if they're trying to still get that trade, or if they're really just not sure who they're going to take. But I mean, I think if they're taking somebody, they know who it is. So
Yeah, I would imagine they do. I don't think that they would wait this long if they were trading it, but
yeah, who
again,
knows?
stranger things have
I don't,
happened.
and we didn't unfortunately have time to watch a ton of the red carpet. So I believe Quinnen Williams is in the building in Nashville. I could be wrong. I believe he's there. Um,
Stephen A.
Yeah,
I could be
I
wrong.
could be wrong, but
We won't make any, we won't make any of those
yeah, don't hold
analysis.
anything I say against me.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, I think Kyler Murray is a mobile quarterback, but I could be wrong. Like,
we're
it's not
just
gonna be anything like that
we're
tonight.
just trashing Stephen A. right now. Oh, pick is in.
Pick is in. Who do you guys think? I mean,
Tell us
not that
through
we
your
can.
computers
Yeah,
or your phones.
scream at our Yeah,
Scream at us.
yeah, your iPads, um, yeah.
Is that? I don't know who that is. Again, I just want to point out again, we said this at the beginning of our broadcast. If you're just now tuning in, our draft big screen is over here. So if you ever see Jake and I constantly looking over there, that's because that's where we're getting our information from. That's where our TV is, where we're watching the draft.
Mm.
So yeah, we're not just looking off into space. Or we might be.
Or maybe you are.
You'll
I
never
don't know.
know.
Maybe you are. Maybe you the viewer is, but
maybe you have us on in the background. You're cleaning your house or
yeah,
something like that. You don't want to look at us because
happens.
whatever reason we won't get into
Happens.
it. So pick is in. It's got to be Quinnen. I think it's got to be Quinnen Williams.
I don't even know who it is. It could be Quinnen. It could be Ed Oliver. I mean, Quinnen Williams is higher on my board.
Same.
If I was to make this pick for the Jets, I personally would take Quinnen Williams. So I think you're right. Will we be right? That's the question.
We're 2 for 2, but we jinxed it. I jinxed it for us, maybe. But again, I think you look at the Jets and their history, I wouldn't be shocked if they did something a little unconventional.
It's true. I did just look over at my mock draft, which I completely forgot, and I have Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, I have
so
Quinnen Williams.
We could go
as well.
3 for 3 here.
Here it comes, the moment of truth, which is why we're going to look to our right now.
Yep, and it's Quinnen Williams.
Quinnen Williams.
There we go.
3 for 3.
There we go.
There we go. I mean, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Quinnen Williams. I have him as the highest rated defensive tackle in this draft, hands down. Ed Oliver's close, but I think it's pretty obvious, at least to me, that Quinnen Williams is a better prospect.
He ran a 4.8. I mean, that's just, at that size,
right.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, and I think another thing to point out about Quinnen Williams is he didn't really come on the scene until the 2018 season.
Exactly.
He, was a guy, was not very productive in 2017. Not even sure if he started in 2017, but he lit it up in 2018. It helped his draft stock. Obviously, he just went 3rd overall to the New York Jets. What would you say just watching him?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out why it takes so long to get to the stage, but but no, I think you're absolutely right. I think Quinnen Williams is somebody that he comes on the scene 1 year and everyone will say, well, he only had 1 year of production. Yeah, but he did it for Alabama. He did it against top-notch competition in the SEC. He did it in the national title game, and this is somebody that regardless of a double team or a triple team, he is going to get pressure on the quarterback, and he is a mauler as a run defender, but he puts on so much pressure as a interior rusher, and that's really where the league is kind of gravitating due to Aaron Donald, and now that's why I think Ed Oliver could go here to Oakland. But it'll be interesting because they trade away Khalil Mack, and this is their opportunity. They're looking at the 2 best pass rushers available in Josh Allen and Brian Burns, but they also are looking at the best interior defensive lineman available that can rush the passer, and that's Ed Oliver. So
right.
The Jets, I think, hit it home. So far, if we were grading, I think all these picks get an A+, because
correct.
How can you, when you're talking about elite talents, I don't know how you can, say, I mean, I wouldn't call Kyler Murray an elite talent. He's not on the level of a Jared Goff. He's not on the level of Carson Wentz coming out, Matthew Stafford, but he's just different. He's like the Patrick Mahomes of this draft, where, when Patrick Mahomes was picked, people are like, he's really boom or bust. That's really where it is.
Yeah, I was there.
He was my number 1 quarterback
awesome.
in that draft. Deshaun Watson is another. I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I think you're spot on when you talk about the Raiders and who they're going to pick here. I have them taking Josh Allen, the edge rusher out of Kentucky, because I think they have to replace Khalil Mack. They're looking, they have to justify that decision. A lot of people gave them a lot of flack for it. A lot of people were really confused. But as you said, they can go anywhere, I think, on the defensive line. They could go edge. They could go a guy like Ed Oliver. But let's not forget the rumors this week is that they are looking at Dwayne Haskins.
Mm.
You know, Derek Carr to me is a guy that you keep. But they've got a new coach in there. They've got a new GM in there, and who knows if these rumors are more than rumors or not.
So Leonard Williams, Steve McClendon, Quinnen Williams, and Henry Anderson is their defensive line, as shown by NFL Network.
For the Jets.
I mean, that's the projected. Quinnen Williams could bomb camp and then he doesn't get a starting job, but that'd be ludicrous. So,
right.
But I think for the Raiders, I think you hit it on the head. Where is Carr's place in this whole rebuild? What are they doing? They brought in Antonio Brown. They bring in, obviously they have Derek Carr. I'm not really sure what they're doing. They trade away Amari Cooper, so it's like,
right.
Where are we going with this team?
I will say it does seem that Antonio Brown really loves Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Everything from what he said, from what Carr said, from social media, it does seem that Carr and Antonio Brown have a close relationship and are developing that. So, I would be maybe a little shocked to see the Raiders get rid of Carr, but you never know. The Raiders are going to do what they think is best for their team, not about who's friends and who's not. There's 3 minutes left, 3 minutes and 38 seconds left on the Oakland Raiders clock.
I'm going with Ed Oliver. I think that's their
Josh
pick.
Allen.
But I think they can't go wrong with, as long as they get a guy that can rush the passer.
Right.
You can't trade Khalil Mack and then not replace him at all. I like Arden Key.
Yep.
Arden Key is not the physical specimen that any of these three guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Burns, elite athlete. Josh Allen, really good athlete. I wouldn't call him elite. He's right below that. Ed Oliver's elite. So, I would definitely, I'd be looking at that for sure. But I want to take a moment. I'll give you the floor. I'm going to try and throw this all over Facebook just in case. And we're also just, if anyone's trying to find us, any of your friends are trying to find us, we're on Twitch as well. We're on YouTube Live.
Yep.
We are on, of course, Twitter, which is Periscope.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on Facebook Live. So, we're trying to get this out. It's new. We've never tried, using this program to, multiply distribute this live. But I think it's going well, and we appreciate you guys watching. So I'm gonna do that, and you have the floor.
Oh wow, what a mistake you've made. All right. So, no, what I do want to touch on something a little bit interesting right now with this Raiders pick. Here, I have them taking Josh Allen in my mock. Jake, as he said, he has them taking Ed Oliver. I think it's very important to remember the possibility, again, that the Raiders trade down. They have 3 first-round picks. Granted, their next pick isn't until pick 24. So, trading away this pick, I think they probably would go to a team that's only a few picks below them, but it is a very real possibility the Raiders give up this pick. There's 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the clock. That either is an indication that they are having a last-minute decision who they're going to take, or that they are trading the pick, or that they just want to keep us on the edge of our seats. But, Raiders fans, as you can see on the screen, if you are watching the draft, are very excited, as they should be. They made a lot of big off-season moves. It's going to be an interesting pick for sure. I'm excited. I'm nervous, Jake. I'm nervous for all these picks. I'm nervous for all these guys. You and I have interviewed over, 100 and...
We've had 121 interviews.
121 interviews.
They will all be out tomorrow.
Yes.
We still have some that are kind of, coming in. We had some technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, time constraints came up. We had to, put this whole thing together. And, I think... I don't know. I think, obviously it's been a lot of fun doing this, but it is a lot of work,
It is a lot of work. But I get nervous, just by the way, the Raiders pick is in, if you haven't seen. They haven't announced it yet. It's in. They'll announce it here in a few seconds probably. But, just I think from Jake and I interviewing all these guys, we really get to see what goes on behind the scenes and the process of, it's not an easy process. These guys are traveling constantly. They're working out with different teams constantly, going through interviews for months. It's not just at the combine or at their pro day or, anything like that. It really is a long, grueling process for them. So it is kind of happy to see, when you see the look of excitement on these guys' faces, just know a lot of that's also relief.
Oh yeah,
They
absolutely.
don't have to go through this grueling process anymore. They can go, they're excited. They get paid. Uh, they're on an NFL team. Their lives change forever, but also they get a break. As weird as that sounds, they
Yeah.
finally get to sit back and relax after 5 months of just waiting and training and preparing.
Well, it's always interesting because we called so many of these guys, and everyone had a different response in some fashion when we called. We always like to thank people for giving us their time because we know how valuable it is. We know how busy these guys are. But you would have guys literally being like, "Oh, the pleasure's all like I appreciate you. Like this is huge for me. I love that you would have me on, or things like that." So, um, we're really excited to watch, as we call it, Team DTR. All the guys that we interviewed get drafted. So, we'll definitely see where they go. I think a couple could go tonight, and wow, that's
We were both wrong. The Oakland Raiders just selected Clelin Ferrell, the edge rusher out of Clemson.
um,
I'm shocked. You know what? In the position, I think we were right. Jake's gonna have a lot to say about this, but I am not a hater of Clelin Ferrell. Would I have taken him this high?
I
I,
can't believe they just picked him top five. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
you know what? Here's what's surprising to me about this. It's yes that they took him so high. It's that you have Josh Allen and Brian Burns still on the board. You also have a ton of other Montez Sweat. Um, you know, I didn't even have Clelin Ferrell in my first round mock. I had him a lot of times at the end of the first. He didn't make my final cut. Not really talent because of talent, but just because of team need. But I'll let Jake.
I,
Jake feels more strongly about this.
I,
I'm
I was I is this a dream? I'm shocked. I really am. And I think he's gonna be a great pro. Don't get me wrong, but you had three picks. You could have gotten him probably with the second pick that you had in this draft. You probably could have gotten him with the third pick. This is huge. This is mind blowing. Honestly, it really is, right? I mean, you talk about I can't. I mean, this is shocking to me. Clelin Farrell is a great edge guy. Don't get me wrong. He made my top 10. Obviously, he's very talented, but I feel like he's a little scheme. Kind of scheme. I would say, what's the word, like handcuffed, because I feel like he's more of a 4-3 defensive end at the end of the day. I don't think he's versatile. I don't think he's a quote unquote edge guy. So I think he plays more power rusher. I don't think he's a speed guy. He's not the speed guy that you get out of Brian Burns or Josh Allen. And the upside is there with the other guys as well. So this is a little confusing to me.
um
He's not a bad player. I think he's a great player. He's a first round talent, but just where
correct.
they picked him.
I think it's an interesting choice if you're trying to replace Khalil Mack. He's not the obvious choice for that. If you're trying to replace Khalil Mack, you go. In my opinion, I had Josh Allen. That makes more sense to me than Clelin Ferrell. You know what? But Clelin Ferrell, like you said, he is a first round talent. He might be maybe a little bit more developmental than the other guys. He's not going to be, in my opinion, a big impact player immediately. Hey, I hope he proves me wrong. I'm never rooting against anybody,
Oh
but
yeah, absolutely.
I think that Jake is right. I think it's very shocking that he went this high. I think you have to take someone who's a more for sure thing when you're in the top five. I don't think that you can mess around like that. But who knows? Maybe the Raiders know something we don't. Again, it's shocking because see now what that does is that sets up Tampa Bay. I had Tampa Bay taking Ed Oliver. Now, because Josh Allen is still on the board, that's going to make things interesting because Tampa Bay is a team that I know loves Josh Allen. I think that they thought he wouldn't be there, but who knows?
They also love Devin White, which is
They do like Devin
we
White.
just saw like it. You notice it went right by the book. We got three in a row. You talk about Kyler Murray going one, then you have Bosa, then you have Quinnen. I mean, we both had those, and then
Correct.
Farrell's like, I mean, and now it's like Tampa Bay. If they get Devin White, and Devin White's my second linebacker in this class, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't have him. I have him like late first, early second. I don't think there's any elite talent at linebacker this year. Just my personal opinion. So they were really interested in him at 5.
Yeah.
From what I've been seeing. But is that all smoke? Like, where do you think they go? I mean, do you think they really go Josh Allen, or do you think like everything that we heard they were just giving their hand for whatever reason?
I believe that if I were the Bucks right now, I would go either Josh Allen or Ed Oliver. I think they'll go Ed Oliver. I could be wrong. Josh Allen, I know that they like. We have um, friends at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who said that they were really high on Josh Allen and Devin White. So I don't know. I had them on my mock taking Ed Oliver, but to be fair, that's because I had the Raiders taking Josh Allen. So now we don't know. When we're thrown off by that Clelin Ferrell pick.
I'm
It
still
disturbs our big
I've
board.
been thrown for a loop, but
Who knows? Anything can happen, and for all we know, Tampa Bay could trade. I don't think they should, but they might. I think it's got to be Ed Oliver. That's who I think they're going to take. If it's not Ed Oliver, I think it's going to be Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a top 3 or 4 player for me in this draft, so I'm shocked he's even still here. I mean, this is the 5th pick, so he's a top 5 talent. We'll see what they do. Tampa Bay.
I think now the way the draft's going, I feel like the Giants are going to be they might have to take a Brian Burns, a Josh Allen, and whoever's. I mean, I would take Haskins, but the way the draft's gone, because I didn't expect Farrell to go at 4, so now, it's another pick or another guy where, another guy that's there that maybe not everyone else was expecting.
Yeah.
And that's going to make the next pick very interesting. But this pick's also interesting because
this is interesting.
There's 5 names that have been talked about this pick.
Well, and here's another interesting thing we haven't mentioned. Again, you want to get into rumors. Are they rumors or are they true? Jameis Winston kind of on the fence in Tampa Bay. Does Tampa Bay... I don't think this happens. I'm just throwing out theoreticals. Yeah. Because I think, again, they'll go defense. Does Tampa Bay take a guy like Dwayne Haskins? Which I want to do because I think that's another Jameis Winston. But that's just me. I'm not that high on Haskins. But does Tampa Bay do something unorthodox like that, or take like a receiver or like a DK Metcalf? Do they do something outside the box? The pick is in. We're going to know in a few seconds.
You're giving him too much credit. We're not going to know in a few seconds. It takes a little bit.
Well, we're a little bit delayed.
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay, so here's... I think it's going to be Josh Allen or Ed Oliver. You think it's going to be...
I'm gonna go with Ed Oliver. I think it's Ed Oliver, and that's, I don't get credit for that. I didn't put that on my mock, but I think it is gonna be Ed Oliver. I don't think they expected Ed Oliver to fall past both New York and Oakland. I just didn't expect. I didn't expect that, and there's no way they did. So
well, here's what I'm gonna say. If it's not Ed Oliver, if I'm the Giants, I'm taking him. I have been pounding the table for the Giants to not take a quarterback at 6. I don't want it. I don't think they need it that high. They've got to pick a 17. If Ed Oliver is not the pick right here, we're about to find out. The Giants got to take him.
I guess we're about to find out, folks. I think it's Ed Oliver. You say Josh Allen.
I think it's one of the two. I think it's got to be. I don't know.
I mean, I would take Brian Burns, but no, because Ed Oliver's number 2 on my board. So I guess, according to my board, I would take Ed Oliver. But
here it comes.
We'll see in just a sec. I'm interested.
Nervous. I always get nervous.
If you guys know, here's what we can do. If you guys want to drop who you would take, we're gonna go through all the comments at the end of the show. We will reply to everybody. Right now, it's a little difficult. Obviously, we don't want giant typing in the background and all that, but we will reply to every single comment across all platforms. So, we will do that. But
all right, Jake, moment of truth.
And it's funny. I could read Goodell's lips when he announced Quinnen Williams, but I'm not gonna be able to read his lips. So,
lifelong Bucks fan.
Devin White.
Okay, well, we said that was a very real possibility.
So they basically just said, we're taking Devin White, take this draft card out of our hands. Like the whole time. They mocked everybody. They're the only ones that told everybody who they were drafting besides Arizona. Well, Arizona didn't tell us who they were drafting.
I have to give a really quick shout out to my grandfather, Ed Bank.
Shout out to Ed Bank.
I've got to give him a shout out. I know he's watching, and my mom.
That's awesome.
My mom and my grandpa are watching. But yeah, so Devin White is a safe pick. I think, a lot of people want to go back and forth. Who's the better Devin in the draft? There's two linebackers, Devin White and Devin Bush. I think Devin White is.
Yeah, you know where I stand. The guy that we interviewed, Blake Cashman, is my number one linebacker. I don't expect him to go tonight. I would pick him in the first round, late first round, but I don't see it happening. But you're absolutely right. The consensus for many people, Devin White, Devin Bush, and who's better. But Devin White, to me, I think I think he's a really great athlete. I think he's so much like Alec Ogletree. That was my player comparison. The problem is he's also like Alec Ogletree in a sense. He kind of flies to a position. I don't love his tackling. I don't love. He's not a wrap up guy. He's a guy that's just gonna literally cross body. He's gonna throw his body, at a area of wherever the guy is on the field.
Exactly.
I mean, he'll have times where he does make the tackle, but I saw too many times, and they're obviously not going to show it, but I saw too many times where he goes flying by somebody and ends up being a giant gain of 20 for the running back who just basically steps out of the way. So he's just got to play a little less erratic.
Yeah, and I really want to comment on something real quick. I think it is, and I touched on this earlier, I think it's really cool that they let that guy announce the Bucks pick.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously, we couldn't hear much. All we could see was that it was a lifelong Bucks fan. But, I'm seeing on social media that everyone was really pumped about that guy picking. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I love when they do that.
I love when they have
special,
it's much more fun to hear other people than Roger Goodell announce a pick. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I'm not as much of a hater of Roger Goodell, but I hear you 100%. And I think really round 2 is awesome because they always have the legends of each
correct,
team.
Yep.
So, the Rams are going to have Orlando Pace because I do believe that they're going to pick in the second round.
I do too.
Look at how that happened, because they announced that. We're like, they don't have a second round pick. What do they know that we don't?
Well, here's the moment of truth. The Giants are on the clock now. Ed Oliver is still there.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
think that
I wouldn't want to be in this position. I would not. You talk about Dwayne Haskins, who's the best quarterback available. Well, you could lean. I know where you're leaning. Drew Lock. I don't know who. Derek Carr. There we go. Drew Lock, could be an option as well. And of course, Daniel Jones, who we keep hearing about. And to me, I don't think Daniel Jones is a first round pick.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if they do decide to go with Daniel Jones because we've already seen, in my opinion, a pretty big reach on Farrell, who's still a first rounder. But we weren't expecting that.
Well, here's my thing. Daniel Jones will be there at 17. Okay? He's going to be there at 17.
Yes.
So if I'm the Giants and if I want Daniel Jones, which I don't think they should, I've talked about that, I am not taking him at 6. I'm going to take Ed Oliver at 6. The pick is in. I have them taking Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle from Alabama. I think they got to protect, whoever their quarterback is, they got to protect him. And then the other option, of course, is Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see with that. Obviously, I think they could go Dwayne Haskins, they could go Brian Burns, they could go Ed Oliver. If this is a draft where Brian Burns falls, and it kind of looks like it could. I'm not saying he will, but if he falls, I mean, think about this. Jacksonville, they could take him, but if they don't, Detroit, are they going to take him? The defensive-minded coach and Matt Patricia? Or are they going to go tight end? The same spot they drafted Eric Ebron and didn't draft Aaron Donald. You know how much flack they got for that. So it could be really interesting. And then Buffalo's probably going to take DK Metcalf. And then now you're looking at Denver, who we kind of all believe Denver's taking Drew Lock. So it'll be interesting for sure.
I am so nervous for this pick. I've never been more nervous in my life. I really think... I have a special place in my heart for the Giants, and I don't want them to take Dwayne Haskins here. I don't think it's the best pick. Jake, I think, thinks they're going to take Dwayne Haskins.
I don't even know what they're going to do. I mean, I really
here's
don't.
the thing, though. They do love Daniel Jones, so I think they might not take
Dwayne.
Here
it comes.
Here it comes. Oh, no.
Daniel Jones at 6 would just be, wow.
I can't watch. Here we go.
Oh my God! They took Daniel Jones. They took Daniel Jones at 6.
Hold on, I'm gonna go have a heart attack real quick.
Yeah. This could end up being a viral video, and I think it'd be really funny if Daniel Jones ends up being Tom Brady, and people pull this up and they're like, "You guys said this about Daniel Jones. We have
I'm gonna
video
say this
footage."
right now. I'm gonna say this right now. I hope that Daniel Jones ends up being the next Tom Brady. I hope he does. I love the Giants. I hope that Daniel Jones proves everybody wrong and goes out there and is even better than Kyler Murray. I really hope that that happens.
Do you
I
see that happening?
as of right now, I
Yeah.
don't see it happening. But
Yeah.
here's what's interesting to me about this pick. It's not the Daniel Jones pick. It's the pick at number 6 because the Giants have another pick at 17. So because that they pick at 17, I'm telling you, Daniel Jones would have been there at 17. You can make an
At the
argument.
same time, though, and I totally agree with you, but when you're talking about getting a face of your franchise, right? Are you going to be like, I'm going to wait and take my signal caller to lead my franchise, a guy that I feel I'm going to give a long term contract to
Right.
as the
Mm-hmm.
second pick in the first round instead of going sixth overall. That's where I get Daniel Jones, like because if that's their guy, that's their guy.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. What I don't get about Daniel Jones is, yes, he's athletic. Yes, he looks the part. But I just said earlier in the broadcast, if you guys didn't hear, he had the most batted down passes of any of these quarterbacks
Agreed.
in this draft. I will say this, just being at the Senior Bowl, he didn't look very confident in his answers in the interviews, and that's not me knocking him. That's just things that I
Right.
picked
Well,
up on.
that's a fair assessment. But another thing we have to remember is maybe Jones is the correct guy for the Giants because they still have Eli Manning. They don't have to take a guy who needs to start right now, because you think about it, Jones is someone who they liked because he reminds them of Eli Manning. So what I believe they're going to do is they're going to have Daniel Jones learn behind Eli Manning. So they don't really need to take a guy like a Dwayne Haskins or even a Drew Lock or someone who they feel pressure to start right away. I think it's the exact opposite. They're taking a guy who now there's no pressure on him to start right away. Maybe if Eli gets hurt for whatever reason, he can step in, if need be. But I think that that's why they like Daniel Jones. I think that they feel like if you give him a year or two to learn, he'll be a superstar. Who knows? They have their reasons. It's been circling the internet that they like Daniel Jones. I mean, he's very athletic. He's a prototypical quarterback. I think, as you said, he lacks confidence and it shows on the field, and he lacks consistency. So hopefully he can work on those things for the next couple years. But it's interesting because now we have Jacksonville on the clock.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville has the chance to get Ed Oliver, and that's got to be who they're taking.
I mean, and the craziest thing is now they have the hardest decision because they could go Haskins. If they don't believe Haskins is ready day one, well, they have Nick Foles. And the way this has gone is you could trade Nick Foles if Haskins wins the job before camp, and now
Mm-hmm.
it would be crazy. And it's not something I would expect, but Daniel Jones at 6, man, that's something. And it really, this draft, you're starting to see it kind of shape up, and this is great for the Rams. Talking to our Rams listeners out there, because now you have two quarterbacks off the board. Haskins is going to come off the board soon. You'd have to imagine Drew Lock, who I think Drew Lock would have been a better fit for the Giants.
Yeah, me too.
I just, what I look at with this pick is how much better is Daniel Jones than Kyle Lauletta? And if you can't answer that with he's better, and I can't, because I saw Kyle Lauletta at the Senior Bowl last year. I think he's something out of Richmond. I thought they liked him, but apparently they don't like him that much because they just went out and got Daniel Jones 6th. Also, gotta wonder how much the scrutiny of not picking a quarterback last year. All those quarterbacks go off the board, and they picked Saquon Barkley, which was, for my money, the right pick, right?
Oh, for sure. I agree.
But they got a lot of scrutiny for that, so you have to wonder how much that weighed in on the decision as well.
Right, and I think this Jacksonville pick, as you said, I don't think that they're going to take a quarterback because I think that they really put all their money in Foles. Not maybe literally, but they're banking on Nick Foles. They have to take Ed Oliver here. If I'm them, Ed Oliver is on the board at 7.
Well, or Brian Burns. You could take one of the, because keep in mind they trade Dante Fowler Jr. And they're probably going to have to pay Yannick Ngakoue soon.
I have them in my mock. I have the Jaguars taking Brian Burns. But that's because I also had Ed Oliver off the board. So now
this changes things a little.
It changes things,
now
players
the
are
longer
falling.
this goes on, so whoever they pick, right? So if they pick Ed Oliver, now Brian Burns is available. If they pick Brian Burns now, Ed Oliver falls to 8. Detroit with the defensive-minded head coach in Matt Patricia, do you put Ed Oliver next to their new acquisition in Trey Flowers? I think that makes that's no-brainer. It makes a ton of sense.
Right.
But in my opinion, I think it opens up an avenue for trades to happen. You could have a team that's not even in the first round, try to give up a player. You could have the Houston Texans who are trying to get rid of, Jadeveon Clowney. They're shopping him. They could trade up and say they want Brian Burns or Ed Oliver. I think that's really the interesting thing about this.
Real quick before, because the pick is in for Jacksonville, but just really quickly, who would have ever thought that the quarterback order in this draft would go Kyler Murray and then Daniel Jones before Dwayne Haskins, before Drew Lock?
I mean, I wasn't. I was shocked that it was Daniel Jones here. I really thought that was smokescreen. And it's Josh Allen, who we completely forgot. We completely forgot Josh Allen because the way this draft is gone.
I am 1,000% okay with this. Josh Allen should have gone in the top 3. He should have gone when Clelin Ferrell went.
Yeah.
So, but good for Jacksonville. They're getting an insanely talented guy.
They just replaced Fowler with him.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is, I think, he's an instant starter. I think he's got more upside than downside. And as you said earlier today, he's a sack machine. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer for Jacksonville. That's a great pick. And now you've got Detroit on the board.
And now Detroit, they're in a weird situation because obviously you could pair Ed Oliver with Trey Flowers, who they just got. They could also, grab Brian Burns, who we keep talking about. But here's the interesting thing. You mentioned him earlier. He's one of my favorite prospects in this draft. TJ Hawkinson, no-brainer tight end. But Detroit's the team. And granted, Patricia wasn't there when they took Eric Ebron over Aaron Donald.
Right.
And, I'm pretty sure Bob Quinn was. I mean, he might not have been. But, it's the fans. This lingers on the fans. Do you really take a tight end, number 8 overall again, when you took Eric Ebron and you wasted him away, and then you watch guys like Aaron Donald and OBJ go off?
Right.
That's going to creep in a lot of fans' minds. And, Detroit, regardless, is going to get a really good pick.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of
there's so much
guys.
talent that's falling here.
I had them taking a defensive lineman. I had them taking Rashawn Gary. They got to take Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
In no world would I've ever seen. But earlier in the year, I did have them taking a tight end. But as you said, there's probably a little bit of bad memory of that Ebron pick that didn't work out for
I think
them.
it's hilarious how they got the 8th pick in this draft for that.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
it's strange, kids. It's a strange time we're living in. Never would have imagined that things would start off like this. I mean, we were 3 for 3. We were confident.
And now I don't think we've gotten one right.
And now I'm questioning everything I know. So I don't know.
I did have Brian Burns here. Oh, I had. You know what? I'm stupid. I had Josh Allen in my mock going to
Jacksonville.
To Jacksonville Jaguars, and I have Brian Burns here. So I guess I'm 4 for. I don't even want to go back and do
this
the math.
This is the 8th, so you're 4 for 8.
4 for 8, I guess. Well, they haven't picked yet, so I'm 4 for 7. But
I'm 3 for 7. So.
Are you insinuating they're not going to pick Brian Burns? No, I'm kidding. But
I don't know who Detroit's going to take here. I think it's going to be defensive lineman or tight end, and I think it's going to be Ed Oliver. How is Ed Oliver still there?
How are the Buffalo Bills going to get an elite talent at number 9? Number 9. We thought the elite was going to be gone.
Well, it might not change things because you're right. The Bills are up next, and I have them taking DK Metcalf, wide receiver from Ole Miss. They could still do that. Who knows? I don't know. It's starting to shape to be kind of a shocking draft. If Clelin, you got
must watch TV.
Yeah. I mean, clearly these guys are watching it.
Yeah.
And us.
And you guys are, like, literally, you guys are the best. You're watching not only the draft, but you're watching us. And that's huge. And we see all the reactions on Facebook and, all the other things here. We can see who's watching. We appreciate it. Like I said, earlier, you guys want to leave a comment. We will respond after. We're going to go through and, mass comment and everything.
Family. I have all my family and friends are watching.
Shout them out.
Elena Bloma. You can go find her on social media. That's my best friend, and she's watching this. So hi, Elena.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, Elena. Oh, Detroit's pick is in.
All right, who is it?
Ed Oliver. If Detroit doesn't take Ed Oliver right here, I'll freak out. I'm already a little insane. I'll go insane. And you don't want to see me. Ask Jake. You don't want to see me freak out. and have a mental breakdown. But I'm telling you, the fact that he is still on the board is not acceptable.
Yeah, it's.
And they're going to commercial, so.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
They got to get their ads in, but luckily for you, we are commercial free.
Yeah.
So you never have to miss a minute.
Although I will say this.
Oh, we are sponsored by.
We're not sponsored by.
Well,
them.
this isn't what I thought you were gonna do.
But Coca-Cola Orange Vanilla Coke, I recommend it. That's their only commercial. And we are also we're sponsored by the Downtown Sports Network,
yes.
which CEO VP Downtown Sports Network right there.
Downtown Sports Network. Hit us up if you want a hat.
Yeah,
or
hit us up
show
if you,
our jacket.
If you want a hat.
I'm wearing mine
if you
tomorrow.
want a Downtown Rams jacket, hit us up. We're not giving them away, but if you're interested in buying them, we're going to be launching that and kind of pushing that more as the season goes on. We're going to do some giveaways as well. Maybe we should do something tomorrow, like a giveaway to encourage the audience to listen, and maybe a trivia thing.
Yeah.
Could be
please like us. We're gonna give you free stuff.
But yeah, it could be a little interesting thing we do.
So yeah, it just came back on. So we're about to get the Detroit Lions pick in, and I can't. It's got to be Ed Oliver. I'm gonna keep saying. I'm gonna speak it into existence. The Detroit Lions need to take Ed Oliver. Here he comes.
I'm switching my pick. I think it's T.J. Hawkinson. They're gonna do it.
It wouldn't be
it's a different era of Lions fans. It's not Eric Ebron. It's T.J. Hawkinson.
Yep.
There it is.
T.J. Hawkinson. It's not a bad pick. This is who I had them taking in all of my mocks until the most recent one I did, of course. It makes sense. They need to fill that slot. It's not a bad pick. Again, Ed Oliver.
I don't know. I mean, Ed Oliver's going to fall to Buffalo, and Sean McDermott, another defensive-minded, former coordinator, minded head coach, brought the Bills to the playoffs his first year coaching, and has a pretty good roster. I think they were kind of trampled a little bit by having the rookie Josh Allen. Things didn't go the right way. They signed A.J. McCarron last year thinking he was going to be the guy, and then he doesn't end up being the guy. So at one point they tried out Nathan Peterman because Josh Allen got hurt. So we'll definitely see there. But I do want to talk a little bit about Detroit here. T.J. Hawkinson, what do you think about this pick?
I like this pick. As I said, he's the best tight end in the draft. To me, I think the argument always is between him and his teammate, Noah Fant. I think he's the best tight end in the draft. He can catch, he can block. There's really not much that he can do. And he's pretty fast. He ran a 4.7 40. That's pretty good for a tight end. Yeah,
he's like 250, and really Hawkinson, I compared him to George Kittle, former Iowa Hawkeye himself. And look, George Kittle's 6'2". He ran a 4.5. He was obviously very athletic, but Hawkinson, people don't understand. It's not about his size. Watch what he does after the football. He catches the football, and he's got unbelievable balance. He really has the wherewithal to stay in bounds near the sideline. He's got power. We're watching him hurdle over a guy right now. You'll see that constantly on film. But this is just somebody that does it all as a tight end. Talk about as a blocker and as a receiver. And that, Detroit's getting a really good tight end for Matthew Stafford, who unfortunately had a down year. But we know true. Matthew Stafford is a really good quarterback. And, he's kind of lost some weapons there. Golden Tate's gone. Marvin Jones had a hard time staying healthy. So, they have a star in Kenny Golladay. But I think T.J. Hawkinson, just watching him bury people to the ground as a blocker.
Absolutely.
He's going to be huge for them.
Yeah, this is exactly what Detroit needs. They needed T.J. Hawkinson. They needed someone at that tight end position. Obviously, they were a little weary, I think, because of the famed number 8 overall Eric Ebron pick, and Eric Ebron ended up being good, just not for them. So
and they didn't really use him. To his defense, they threw to him 60 times in his career. Eric Ebron thing, obviously made a lot of sense at the time. Very athletic tight end. We knock it. Hindsight's 20/20. So at the end of the day, Hawkinson I think is less of the athlete Eric Ebron is, but he's more of the football player.
Right. And we've got the Buffalo Bills almost up now to pick, which is interesting because, again, Ed Oliver's on the board. Again, I have to give a shout out one more to my friend Elena Bloma. Shout out to my best friend. I know she's watching this.
Shout out to Elena.
Yeah, shout out to Elena Bloma. Go look her up if, you know, you're watching. But no, Bills are on the clock. They're taking DK Metcalf. I spoke it into existence. There's nothing, you just let that sit. Let that resonate with you.
They're not going to take. Well, Ed Oliver's going to fall to 10, and John Elway's going to pick Drew.
I hope Ed Oliver to still be on. Yeah, I don't know. If Ed Oliver falls to 10, that would be scary. I know that you think that the Broncos are going to take Drew Lock. I actually had the Broncos taking Byron Murphy, but Ed Oliver on the same defense as Von Miller. And I'm blanking right now on who the other guy is. Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. Yeah. And Ed Oliver. That all of these teams should be taking Ed Oliver. I don't know what's happening. Is there something we don't know? We haven't been on social media unless something happened. I'm shocked.
Yeah, no, I am too. Looks like we're having some streaming issues right now, so we're trying to work on that. For whatever reason, we're having
for all of them or just one platform. Because I know it's still up on Facebook Live. We do have our Facebook Live up. So if you're watching on something, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you're obviously hearing this. If you're not watching on Facebook Live, there might be.
Yeah, it looks like we're back on, but we were definitely having some issues for sure. So. We're trying a new program, guys. It's definitely, it's not the easiest thing, but we're trying here.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot. We are on a lot, so there's a lot of bandwidth going on. A lot of things.
Periscope,
happening. Facebook,
YouTube Live.
Basically, if
Twitch.
You follow us on any social media, well, you're not going to stop seeing our face.
That's both good and bad,
welcome.
I guess. If you're looking at mine, so it's bad, but
okay. Let's Bill selection.
Bill's selection. Let's see what we got here.
Ed Oliver.
And it's Ed Oliver.
Yay! About time.
So the second best player in the draft goes 9th?
The second, yeah. I mean,
that's just, it's a little bizarre, right? Just a little.
I mean, Ed Oliver's a guy that in no world should have fell in the 9. So,
So, basically what Ed Oliver brings to the table for Buffalo is he's going to be somebody, apparently you can have him get triple teamed, and he's going to open up one-on-one opportunities for everyone around him.
Oh.
But he's also going to put a ton of pressure on Tom Brady. He's going to put a ton of
Correct.
pressure on whoever's playing quarterback in Miami, which... I actually forget who's playing quarterback. Is it Ryan Fitzpatrick?
As of now, but I have Miami taking Drew Lock.
Gotcha.
But so we'll see. I mean, I think Ed Oliver, as you mentioned, if you watch his tape, this guy got triple teamed constantly. He's physically insane.
And of course, Sam Darnold, who I can't forget about.
Right. But Ed Oliver's a solely interior guy. You can't move him really around much. He's an interior guy, but that doesn't take anything away from his talent at all. Just because that's where you're going to put him for sure. He's insane. He, to me, is a guy, he's going to play a long time. He's made for the NFL, and he's a steal at 9. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I can't believe he fell to 9. I can't believe Clelin Ferrell went ahead of him. I can't get over this draft right now. This is why you watch the NFL draft, because everything you see in mocks, it's not guaranteed. They're just, mocks. You watch the film with Ed Oliver, and he's just an explosive athlete. Really, the only issue, and I think which is why he fell, is maybe that character concern that people had was legit. We aren't around him, right? So we don't know, how his personality was. We tried to interview him. Obviously, the dude's really busy. But, he's a physical freak, and he'll take on triple teams. He'll crash. We're watching him here.
We're just watching him, and it's like you
wrecking
can't...
quarterbacks. So, this is definitely a great pick for Buffalo.
I love it.
No brainer. It's an A+, and it fell right in their lap.
I love violent players on the field.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Just to clarify.
Yep.
But I love violent players. I love it. Ed Oliver is violent.
Plays through the whistle.
Through the whistle, just an absolute mauler, and I love it. I love it. But you see, now you've got Denver up, and here comes the is it Drew Lock phase of the draft, because everyone for a long time it looked like the Broncos were going to take Drew Lock. Then they trade for Joe Flacco, which kind of puts a little question in your mind, because I really think Elway likes Justin Herbert at Oregon more, and I think he's going to shoot for him next year. So I think Flacco's just kind of a year guy, so they can compete. They trade away Keenum, but I have them taking Byron Murphy, the best corner in the draft. The corner hasn't gone yet, so I think they're going to take Byron Murphy.
Yeah, that would be a good pick. Because they got a lot of flack for not taking, what's his face from Ohio State that I keep blanking his name. Last year, mm-hmm. the cornerback there. I'm not gonna remember his name.
Wait, who took him? The Broncos?
No, they didn't take him. The Browns did.
Oh, Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward, thank you.
They took Chubb, yeah.
Yeah, so they got flack for not taking Denzel Ward, and now you hear all this news about Chris Harris Jr. And Chris Harris Jr., you could argue the last 5 years has been the best cornerback in football, quietly,
And he recently requested a trade. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So I think they've got to...
They lost Bradley Roby to free agency.
Correct. 2 years, Aqib Talib was on their team.
Aqib Talib is now on the Rams, of course.
But I think they've got to take Byron Murphy. They've got a lot of stars on that defense, but they do need, I think, another star corner, especially if Chris Harris is going to leave. So... I think it's got to be Byron Murphy. I know a lot of people think it's going to be Drew Lock. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Drew Lock. I just don't think that they need him or a quarterback right now. They got Flacco. Flacco is, he's Flacco. He's
Flacco. I was going to chime in there.
But you don't trade for a guy like that unless you want to use them, and especially trade another quarterback.
It's true. It's very true.
So it seems like they are going to go defense, and specifically corner. And if they're going to go corner, it's going to be Byron Murphy or Greedy Williams, and I have them taking Byron Murphy.
Yeah, and I think here, obviously Brian Burns could be an option. I definitely think Brian Burns could be an option. Drew Lock could be an option. Here's the thing: can you tell me right now, is Joe Flacco better than Drew Lock? Guaranteed.
No.
Are you definitely going to get a season of Joe Flacco where he's so much better than Drew Lock? You're not. Drew Lock may not be ready for the NFL. You might need 1 year, right? Mm-hmm. But even if it's 1 year, he might be on Flacco's level right now. Flacco has not been the same since the back injury. This isn't me hating on him. This is just the facts. I mean, he was a Super Bowl winning quarterback, has the back injury, and then, of course, he had the ACL, I believe, against the Rams, and he hasn't been the same. So, I think that would make sense if they took him. Just in case.
There's a trade.
Oh, a trade's coming up, apparently.
Well, it doesn't. Does that mean Steelers acquire 10th overall pick from Broncos?
Oh, wow. I apparently can't read. It was right there. She doesn't have insider knowledge or anything. It's right there.
So, hold on now. Hold on. We got to think about this.
We do have to think about this.
I think it's got to be... I mean, I don't know. My instinct was to say quarterback, but then I remember they extended Ben.
Yeah.
So I don't think it could be a linebacker. It could be a guy like Devin Bush. It could be Brian Burns.
It could.
I kind of think it's probably Devin Bush or Brian Burns. Wow. Okay, so now the clock is going to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They haven't said, they might have said it, what Denver got in return, but we can't hear it because we're talking to you.
Yeah, and we don't regret it at all. This has been a lot of fun. But
okay, so Steelers trade. I said it's got to be Devin Bush or Brian Burns. What do you think?
100% it's Devin Bush. They did this. So here's some backstory. So Cincinnati, a few years back, drafted William Jackson III out of Houston, right?
Correct.
That was when the Steelers went, and I believe they got Artie Burns. Artie Burns originally was not the guy they wanted. Of course, he's been a bust. They wanted William Jackson III. The Bengals are their division rival. They didn't trade up, but they took him beforehand. Look at who they just traded up ahead of, the Bengals. So this is kind of a middle finger to that organization, and they're going to go and they're going to get Devin Bush, and Cincinnati was absolutely going to pick him. I love that.
I agree. I love this move by the Steelers. I had the Bengals taking Devin White. Devin White's gone, so then I would assume that they're going to go after Devin Bush. So I do agree with you. I think the Steelers, the pick is about to come in.
And this is great for Denver as well. You got to move down. If you want Drew Lock, move down and get him later. I'd imagine they're going to swap picks with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's not a bad pick at this point. So I like this a lot. Be aggressive. That's kind of my thing. Be aggressive. Don't let teams in your division bully you, and that's what the Steelers are doing. If they take, and of course we haven't been told otherwise, but I think it's Devin Bush.
I think it's got to be Devin Bush.
Devin Bush.
Devin
there
Bush.
It is. Thoughts?
Good pick. I love it. I absolutely love it. I had the Steelers taking Devin Bush at 20, and people thought I was crazy because they're like, oh, Devin Bush won't make it to 20. Devin Bush won't make it 20. Maybe he really won't, Dev. Maybe I was wrong, but I had the Steelers taking Devin Bush. I just remembered that.
This is
which you can see if you're watching our ticker. I don't know whose ticker's up right now, but Jake's ticker, Jake's mock, my mock, Skylar Burkhardt's mock, Blaine Grissak's mock. Who else?
Shout out to Dan Gleason. He was also part of that.
Dan Gleason. There's a ton of mocks running at the bottom of our screen. I don't believe mine is. Yeah, mine's not up right now.
I think I had Rocky Sin. I think at 20 to the Steelers.
20.
And like with Devin Bush here, you're getting an ultra athlete. You're getting somebody that's very similar mold to a Ryan Shazier. So I think that's really where they wanted to go with this. Notice this team started changing, right? They didn't make the playoffs. They have missed Ryan Shazier. And unfortunately, we know what happened to Ryan Shazier. We don't know if he's going to come back from that. He's a great story. But we just don't know. He's not a guarantee. So I love this move for the Steelers to go out, get their guy, bring things back to how they used to be, or kind of how they used to be, where you have that ultra athlete, in the middle of your defense. Devin Bush is somebody that made a statement at Michigan.
Right.
He is going to come in and he's a tone setter, silent guy, new age linebacker. So I love this for the Steelers. Great move, and it's even better because you hurt Cincinnati, who is your division rival, in doing this.
Exactly. I mean, because we know that Cincinnati was going to take Devin Bush. The Steelers obviously were on top of that. And you have to remember what's going on in Pittsburgh. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in the locker room going on. That's up for debate on who caused that or exactly what it was. They lost a lot of players. Players wanted out. They're trying to change the culture over there. Devin Bush is going to come in. He's going to make a statement. Okay, really quickly, they just announced. So Denver received, for that 10th pick, 20th overall pick,
the 52nd overall pick, and they're going to get a 2023rd. And
exactly,
I think this makes so much sense for Denver. If your guy's not there, you trade down 10 spots, you pick up a second rounder. I'm all for that. So you pick up a second rounder, and this is a draft Alexis and I have gone through, and there's so much talent all over the place. So this makes a lot of sense. I think obviously Cincinnati must be so angry right now.
Oh, good.
But,
well, I have a lot of friends. If you follow me on Twitter at the Alexis Kraft, shameless plug. I've been doing a lot of Twitter mocks for a lot of different people.
There's your
this
name
draft
plate.
season. Yeah, that's me. You can follow me there. I have a lot of friends. I have made a lot of friends who are Bengals fans. So I feel for them. I know that a lot of them really like that Devin White or Devin Bush option, and they're both gone. But now let's remember who's still on the board. Brian Burns, your guy who you love, is still on the board, and he can go really anywhere.
And I don't think he's going to go to Green Bay. They spent a lot of money. Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, and I know they're missing a guy, one of their edge guys, but they spent a lot of money on edge presence. So I don't think, and they it's kind of a new era there. They let Clay Matthews go. They let go of Nick Perry.
Right.
So I don't think they go Brian Burns because they've already filled that void. They could go Nasir Adderley. They could go with a safety to put next to Josh Jones. But really Cincinnati, this is the interesting pick here because now it's like. They didn't expect this. There's no way they expected the Steelers to actually make that move.
I'm going to be bold right now.
Do it.
Dwayne Haskins.
It makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Dwayne Haskins, Andy Dalton is way out of his prime. I had Cincinnati taking Tyree Jackson in the second, but now that Dwayne Haskins
that would
is
have been a good pick.
Dwayne Haskins has still not gone at pick 11. I mean, we haven't touched on that. I'm not shocked, but I know a lot of people are shocked. I mean, it.
Let's go and look at my my pick at the Bengals. Oh, it was Devin Bush. So nope, that can't be right.
I
But no, I'm not going to throw salt in the wound because we're covering all of these. Obviously we're covering all of these teams, right? And not going to throw salt in the wounds right now. If you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, Andy Dalton's not going to win a Super Bowl. We know that.
right, and I
You're
think
in
they
a
know
tough
that.
division,
Right,
because now the Browns are good, and
right,
the Browns are really good. They're like Super Bowl good right now.
yeah.
We'll see, but they look really good on paper. You look at the Ravens; they were just in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Steelers, they just got Devin Bush. That could change the culture there. So Cincinnati, I'm gonna go with you. I think they pick Haskins.
I
I
do
think
too.
that makes the most sense for them.
We're about to see the pick. Bengals are up. They kept the pick. Jonah
No,
Williams.
it's Jonah Williams. So
Okay, that I don't hate that pick. I had Jonah Williams going high. I had him going 6 to the Giants. He's another guy who probably shouldn't have fell to 11, but because this is such a defensively rich draft, it's not shocking. I don't think that this was the primary need for the Bengals, but yet again, they have not been the same at that left tackle position since they lost Andrew Whitworth. So now they're bringing in,
Yes.
Jonah Williams, and he's very emotional. We're watching, and that's awesome. I mean,
I had him going to the Giants at 17
oh, see, I had
to
him going to
protect
Giants at 6.
Haskins. So I guess now he can't protect it. But here's the weird thing: my number one tackle was Jawan Taylor out of Florida. Where does he go? And this is gonna be interesting because is this first round? Now that there's an offensive tackle off the board,
Mm-hmm.
we've had 2 quarterbacks. Haskins is really good. Like he's not. Again, I've said this about Kyler, and he's my number one quarterback. They're not Jared Goff, Carson Wentz level prospects. That doesn't mean they can't be that. What Jared Goff is, leading his team to a Super Bowl. That doesn't mean they can't do that. But how I look at this is Haskins is a really good quarterback. I would honestly make the argument he is NFL ready. He's not the most NFL ready.
Haskins.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think Haskins, you can start him day one.
It's interesting because I don't think he's going to go to the Packers. Now, here's an interesting pick, for the Packers right here. I had them picking T.J. Hawkinson.
Hmm.
So do they take his teammate Noah Fant, or do they?
That would be
I
something.
you got to give it's an argument to be made, giving Rodgers weapons.
Well, now
I mean, he has he has
DK Metcalf's available.
DK Metcalf's available.
Give Aaron Rodgers
Exactly.
DK Metcalf and
Because you've got Devontae Adams, and Geronimo Allison, and really, you've got Equinus St. Brown, who kind of didn't turn out. I mean, he's still young, so
they like him a lot.
They like
though.
him a lot. So that's why I kind of think that they're going to go tight end to complement. They don't have a tight end really.
Oh yeah.
So I think Noah Fant is still available. That's an option. But again, they could really be, go for it and take DK Metcalf, and that would be insane with Aaron Rodgers. Or they could go defense. They could go safety. I have them taking Nasir Adderley at 30.
Yeah, so I mentioned Nasir Adderley, and I could see them taking him here. I could see even Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. This is an interesting one here, but Brian Burns is the best available, per my board. Green Bay did put a premium on bringing edge talent to Green Bay.
They did.
So with Mike
You're right.
Pettin, Mike Pettin's got his tools, if you will. He's got his toys. I think Mike Pettin's one of the best defense coordinators in all of football. I really do. So when I look at what Mike Pettin was able to do last year, Aaron Rodgers clearly wasn't fully healthy. So they're going to be back.
If Aaron Rodgers gets healthy, you can never count the Green Bay Packers out.
Yeah.
You just can't. You give him a guy right here, I think like a tight end, like a Noah Fant. Great pick. I'm trying to think right now. I don't think that offensive line is like their main concern, but yet again, when it's Aaron Rodgers, you need the best of the best protecting him because he has been hurt a lot, and he's really kind of do or die for your team. So you could do something like that. That would be okay. You could take like a center or something like that.
Metcalf would be huge here, though.
Yeah, Metcalf.
I mean,
again,
that's people have AJ Brown going to them like later on. Like I've seen a lot of mocks that have like next tier receiver. Depending on where he is on your board, like I feel like he's right below. I would say DK Metcalf, and I would also say Hakeem Butler out of Iowa State. So this is going to be an interesting pick, and it looks like they are going to make this pick and not trade it. So
Yeah.
Miami's going to have. I mean, assuming
The
Green Bay
talent
doesn't
available
blow our
is
mind
insane.
and pick a quarterback, Miami's going to have their choice between, Drew Lock and
Well,
Dwayne Haskins.
I think Miami will take Haskins, but
That-
or Lock. I have him taking Lock, but if Haskins is there,
Just to spite you, they'll take.
but see, I kind of think that Miami likes Drew Lock, and I think the Redskins like Haskins, so
Yeah.
and the Redskins pick at 15. So
Do you think the Redskins baited the Giants to take Daniel Jones? Because remember that came out, and it just makes you wonder, like,
possible.
last time they had back-to-back B.J. Raji and Clay Matthews
Yeah.
for the Packers.
Also, I think primarily most of our viewers are watching through Periscope, Instagram story, and we've got a few here on Facebook as well. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, no matter where you're watching.
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah, sponsored by Downtown Sports Network. Let us know if you want a hat.
That's just going to be the thing.
Let us know if you want a hat. Please buy it. And we're doing a giveaway.
We are going to be. We're going to be doing giveaways. Giveaways.
Yeah, multiple giveaways. Please like us. We give out free stuff.
I think.
Well, okay. So, anyways, other than our free stuff that we're giving out, back to Green Bay. I think it's gonna be offense, and I think it's gonna be Fant or Metcalf.
I'm gonna go Metcalf because I don't think Green Bay coming in this draft expected Metcalf to be here at 12. I don't think many people did. I mean, he blew everyone out of the water with his testing. I'm not going to get in the 3-cone drill. I don't care about 3-cone drill.
I had Metcalf going to the Bills at 9.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Bills
really
loved him, too. Like, everyone was saying how much, like, he killed his interviews and, how much smoke was that? Or how much was that, Ed Oliver just fell in the lap.
Right. Well, I think it gets into, again, how we're starting to see that teams fool people. That, because
all the time.
Oh, here's the Packers selection. Rashawn Gary.
Wow. So.
Whoa! Oh my God. Oh, look at him. I love it. Not to be like weird or anything.
No, go right ahead.
I love it when players show emotion when they get picked. And again, if you're just tuning in, our big screen is over here. So when you see us looking over here, we are looking at our big screen. And the players over there. So right now we're watching Rashawn Gary. If you aren't also watching the draft, he is very emotional. And you know what? I love Rashawn. You can go back, as you know. I have been screaming his name forever.
You have
forever, and I had him going to the Lions, a different NFC North team. So
I had Gary for sure going to the Panthers. I felt like they loved him, and I just felt it.
You were wrong.
Yeah. How did you feel to be wrong? Just ask me.
I was wrong. Gary is a guy who, as I said I've been pounding the table from him, but I realized he is a very raw talent. He's not polished. A lot of people are like, oh, he's strictly a defensive lineman and interior guy. I have him playing better at more of a defensive end position. Not maybe an outside linebacker, but, a defensive end guy. I think he's so athletically gifted. I think if you get him with the right coach, get him in the right system, he's going to do a lot better than people think he will. So I think he was taken at the correct spot. I had him even going higher. So yeah, that's how my thoughts.
I don't really get the hype, but I do at the same time. Like, this is the guy that only had 9.5 sacks, 3 years. Mm-hmm. But the high school hype, I talked about this on the Know Your Role podcast. Shout out to them, Cole and Tobias. But, I kind of feel like Rashawn Gary with the right coaching, and he goes to Mike Pettine's team, right? And I was just raving about Mike Pettine. I think Mike Pettine, they drafted him for a reason. They have a plan for him. And I'm sorry, 10.5 sacks. It wasn't 9.5. But they have a plan for him, obviously, if they made this pick at 12. And it's also interesting because we're just talking about, did they go Brian Burns? I mean, no, they don't, because they just, put all this emphasis on edge presence. They go out and get an edge guy. But here's my question for you. Where do you see Rashawn Gary fitting in this defense? Is he more, I know we talked about this off air, but is he more of an interior presence at this point? Or are they going to try to use him on the edge?
I think they're going to try and use him on the edge. He can play either, in my opinion. A lot of people think he's strictly an interior guy. That might not be wrong. I think that he can play anywhere on that line. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But, now moving on from the Rashawn Gary pick, we have the Miami Dolphins, and I think that they will be taking a quarterback here. I think I have them taking Drew Lock. I have them taking Drew Lock even with Haskins on the board. I think that that's who they like. When they look at their quarterbacks, I feel bad for Ryan Fitzpatrick because this seems to always happen to him. He thinks he's going to be the starter, then he's not.
And then he always gets it somehow.
And then he gets it somehow. But I think they're going to go Drew Lock here, or Haskins. I think it'll be Lock. It might be Haskins though. You never know. What's going to happen. I think if they don't take a quarterback, they're going to probably go edge.
Yeah.
And that could be a Brian Burns, who they are very familiar with because Brian Burns played at Florida.
Yeah, I mean, the Tannehill trade was interesting to me. Interesting because why did Tennessee do that? Where's their motive there? I think they just really wanted a good backup. So that's definitely the interesting part of that. But I think also, when you look at this, Miami has a chance to decide between your top guy available and my top guy available at the quarterback position. And there's been people saying they're not drafting a quarterback. They're going to tank this year with Ryan Fitzpatrick,
right.
New head coach, obviously, and Brian Flores from the Patriots, defensive coordinator. So it's definitely an interesting thing. I think they could go multiple avenues for sure. I mean, they could go quarterback. We keep talking about Brian Burns. People are probably tired of me just mentioning his name. And, and I guess that's just how it's going to be. But I think they're going to go Haskins here.
I could see it. My inclination has been Lock. Again, though, it could very well be Haskins because, they're both players that have been on their radar. Unless they take a guy like Brian Burns, the pick is in. There's commercial breaks, so they'll be picking after that. Miami's interesting, like you said. I mean, are they truly just trying to tank? And if so, they're not going to take a quarterback, I think, because they're going to try and tank for a top pick and get a quarterback next year. Or are they really trying to compete this year? I mean, they're in a tough division. They are, you got the Patriots, so maybe.
Yeah. That's really what makes it hard, because can you afford to tank? How good is Justin Herbert? If you look at Justin Herbert and think this guy is by far going to be able to allow me to compete with anybody, you take it. And you tank for him is what I'm saying.
Correct.
But also, think about 2 years later. You got Trevor Lawrence. How far are we tanking here? You have a rookie coach. Say what you want about tanking in the NFL. You have a rookie head coach. Rookies don't want to tank.
No,
Brian
they want to
Flores
prove themselves.
needs to prove himself. Because look at the Belichick coaching tree. Matt Patricia didn't have a great year. Josh McDaniels, completely busted. With the Denver Broncos when he went out on his own. So the coaching tree hasn't been all that great. And, of course, Bill O'Brien, he's had some success, but this isn't somebody that's really, lit it up with the Texans. So, and they were just a first-round exit at home against the Colts. But the Dolphins select here, and let's see where they go. It's Christian Wilkins.
Okay, I don't hate that.
What did we say before the draft? Safest defensive lineman?
Defensive lineman in the draft.
Consistency.
He would have gone round one.
Yeah.
If he came out last year, chose to go back to school. High character. Everyone loves him. He's had no issues with any team interviews. Everyone loves him. He's a very safe pick. And, he's a guy who is going to be consistent, as you said. So I think Miami made a good choice. I think they went the safe route, and he's going to start, obviously, a defensive tackle for them. So
no, I think this is the right pick here.
I had him going next at 14 to Falcons. So
that's where I had him. So great minds think alike.
Right.
That was pretty cool to see that. Him embracing Roger Goodell there. You don't see that very often. Obviously, Trent Williams, the silverback. He's somebody that basically Roger Goodell called him Trent Silverback Williams at the draft because they were like friends.
Right.
I always like seeing that. But Christian Wilkins, it goes back to what we were talking about. This is a very safe pick. This is somebody that's going to come in. He's a plug and play defensive lineman. And I think when you say plug and play defensive lineman, people think, he's just good. No, he's
Right.
great. He is a great player. Yes, he played with Xavier Thomas. He played with Austin Bryant. He played with Dexter Lawrence in this draft. But make no mistake, I think he's the best guy on that line.
Oh yeah.
And he is going to be great because the Dolphins, and we keep talking about this, Buffalo goes out to get their interior presence, and Ed Oliver, the Dolphins need to go out and get their guy because they need to start putting pressure on Tom Brady.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if they want to compete at all in that division, they got to step it up. They got the right guy to do that, and you know, I think it's a good pick. Like we've been saying, I think it's a safe pick. I had him going next to the Falcons, so that brings up the Falcons. What do the Falcons do? Do they go maybe a Brian Burns?
Well,
they don't
now
necessarily,
it's just like, I mean,
they don't necessarily need a Brian Burns in the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, where do you view Vic Beasley? Like if they love Vic Beasley, they also drafted Takaris McKinley out of UCLA, so they could go multiple directions as well.
I think you could go linebacker. You could maybe go offensive line here. Jawan Taylor is still on the board. You could do that. Maybe a corner here because there has not been a corner taken.
This is kind of like we kind of expected this though.
Yeah, I mean, I had Byron Murphy going at 10, and then I had Greedy, I believe, going like I don't even remember. 16.
Why do you think Byron Murphy's falling per se? I mean, we expected this, but there's no way he expected this. So, Byron Murphy. You talk about Byron Murphy. I mean, he's the best cornerback in this draft. That's not really debatable. So, did the testing hurt him? Would you say like not running a 4.4? I mean,
no, he's a corner.
But we've seen it before. Jair Alexander went pretty early, and everyone was telling me that he was going to go the second round. And then Denzel Ward went really early. So it's interesting.
I think that
it's a passing league. So where's the corner?
I know. I think that the only reason that Byron has fallen is not because of him. I think it's just how everything's played out. You see it every year. You see guys fall. If it's based on their position, it really has nothing to do with them. People get taken that other teams weren't expecting, so then they go and take someone else who they thought won't be there. And, I think that's the only reason. But, the pick is in for the Atlanta Falcons here at 14. And
who are we going with?
I don't think it's Byron. I want it to be.
I don't think it's Byron either. I don't see it. Brian Burns, maybe. It really... Again,
I'm kind of feeling offensive line. Maybe I'm trying to think of the safe thing for them to do.
They signed Jake Matthews long term. Ryan Schrader, they have guys there, but Jawan Taylor, it's hard to pass him up here. I had him going to Miami, so in the mock. But the reason I said Haskins is because I didn't expect Haskins to be there. But here we are, pick 14. Haskins isn't going to Atlanta, and I mean, Washington's now going to get their opportunity. And keep in mind, people are acting like Alex Smith is he retired. Alex Smith's not done with football.
Right.
So they would have ammunition they could take Haskins and trade Alex Smith away. They could still have Alex Smith. So they could go with Drew Lock, who I think is a year, needs to sit a year. They could go multiple avenues, and they still have Case Keenum.
Correct.
So it's very interesting there.
Right. Well, the Falcons pick is in. So we're going to watch now and see who the Atlanta Falcons select. Chris Lindstrom, offensive line. That's kind of what I felt would be the safest pick for them.
Yes.
Looking at who's gone off the board, I think they would have targeted Wilkins had Wilkins had been there, and he went right before they picked. Lindstrom is the best guard in this draft, in my opinion. I think it's a very safe pick for the Falcons. Can't go wrong really with picking offensive line.
It's hard to look at the Giants picking at 17 and one of either Haskins or Drew Lock is probably going to fall there. Just think about that.
Yeah.
And they picked Daniel Jones at 6 and completely shuffled the entire draft.
Yeah, they did. Well, you got the Redskins now, and I have the Redskins taking Dwayne Haskins. I have him taking that. I don't think Alex Smith is going to be playing football again. I love Alex Smith, but you look at the injury that he suffered was really bad, and especially he is at an older age. It's not like he's young and got that injury. He's older. Uh, I think they did get Case Keenum, but if
I like
Haskins
Case Keenum. There'll be no
I love Case Keenum.
no
Don't get
slandering
me
from
wrong,
me, but
I think that because Haskins is still here, and because it has been rumored that there's interest in him from the Redskins, I think it could be a possibility that they take him. Uh, you know, uh, uh, if they don't take Haskins, who do you think they're going to take?
if they don't take Haskins, Washington.
So
That's
that is an opportunity, I think, for Byron Murphy.
see that.
They have Norman,
Hmm,
but they don't really have anybody on that other side.
that that's interesting. I mean, well, Brian Burns here as well. He's he's by far my best player available.
Yeah,
You're
I
getting tired of me saying.
no. I agree. He is, but I'm starting to wonder why he's falling. Uh, you know, I just think they're going
He
Haskins.
must not have interviewed well or something like that.
Yeah, it's always you find out later.
Yeah.
You find out later why guys fell. Sometimes it's because of reasons like that. Sometimes it's really because of nothing at all. Somebody else was like better. Things change constantly. We don't know, and I think that right now we're gonna see Dwayne Haskins picked.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Haskins. But if they go Drew Lock, I mean, it's which quarterback do you want? Then they just
Right, yeah, they could go Drew Lock here. I think it will be Haskins because I've heard, and everyone has heard, on social media that they like Haskins most. That they really had an infatuation with Drew Haskins, or Dwayne Haskins, considered trading up.
if you could fuse them, that'd be pretty awesome.
Right.
You'd have a really good quarterback.
Yeah,
then.
right. No, but there was rumors that they were going to trade up for him.
Yeah.
I did a lot of mocks where I had Washington trade up for Dwayne Haskins. So we'll see. Falcons, our friend Dan Gleason, who is a Falcons fan, is not thrilled with the offensive line pick as we are, but it's okay.
They call them the big uglies for a reason. This isn't the sexiest pick, but I will say he's gonna help Atlanta out. You have to be able to protect your quarterback. Matt Ryan is a former MVP.
Right.
They went to the Super Bowl, they lost, and they haven't been the same. So they gotta get back, and you have to build that offensive line, and that's really the only way I see it. So Chris Lindstrom, he may not be the sexiest pick available. Talking about the previous pick because Dan mentioned it, but just for you Falcons fans out there, this is somebody that is plug and play. He's he's really, really good. The only reason I didn't expect him to go this high is because he's guard. That's it.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know?
I mean, no one thinks when they think of flashy players, they think of a guard.
Yeah. No. But there's a lot of guards we like in this draft.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be interesting for sure. I mean, but he was, in my opinion, he was by far the best guard, just straight ahead guard.
Oh,
If you move Dalton Reisner to guard, I think Dalton Reisner is a better player.
I do
But
too.
if you are talking about Dalton Reisner as an offensive tackle and you're not classifying him as a guard, it's Chris Lindstrom, and then to me, I think it's Nate Davis in the second round. I don't think he's a first round talent.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and Chris, the only complaint that you can make against Chris Lindstrom really is a consistency issue. There'll be some times where he will get beat and shut in and do little things like that. But overall, he's the best guard, like you said. If you're looking strictly at a guy who can strictly play guard, Lindstrom is your guy.
He's not Quentin Nelson. He's not.
Let's just
say
Nelson.
that Quentin Nelson went top 10.
Quentin Nelson, my Notre Dame boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not him, and Dan doesn't agree with us, but it's okay. We
what does he
we
say?
love you, Dan Gleason. He is not thrilled, but pick is in for the Redskins.
So this
and
has
remember,
to be Haskins.
it's got to be Haskins, and remember, Darius Geis is coming back.
Yeah,
that
well,
was their
I didn't
first
think
round
that
pick
they were
last year.
Running back.
Well, right,
Yeah.
but pairing up Haskins and Geis could be interesting, and Adrian Peterson came back.
Yeah.
So they could be building something great on that offense. I mean, you could receiver here with DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf has fallen
'Cause
to 15 with like unbelievable combine numbers. What does that tell you? I mean, everyone talks about the 40-yard time.
yeah,
We're at 4.3.
yeah. Well, and this would be a good team for him to go to because he's gotten if they have Case Keenum start because they picked Metcalf, so he's got an experienced quarterback. You know, Keenum. He's not the sexiest quarterback in the world, but he's experienced. You get DK Metcalf. You've got Darius Geis. Adrian Peterson. You know, the Redskins lack on offense. They do. They have for a long time. They really have. They haven't had, you know, again, though, they haven't had a franchise quarterback in a long time. They kind of saw that a little bit with Alex Smith. He came in and did really good till he went down. But the pick is about to come in. You know, we don't know who it's going to be. I think it's going to be Dwayne Haskins or maybe DK Metcalf.
Yeah, we'll definitely see in just a sec. And it's Dwayne Haskins.
That's who I had. And who most people had. I mean,
yeah. Well, you had it beforehand. This is just me kind of going with the flow.
Right.
I didn't have Dwayne Haskins falling as far. This is unfathomable for me. Just watching what he was doing. You know, obviously 50 touchdowns at Ohio State.
Right.
So, you know, I'm not a big like production's everything thing in college, but you need production, right? Ohio State has had guys like, you know, you talk about JT Barrett. JT Barrett was, you know, a college quarterback.
Yeah.
And Dwayne Haskins is a legit NFL quarterback.
He is, and I like this. He's going to spice it up. He's going to get in there. It's going to be spicy in Washington D.C. It's going to be fun to watch, especially if Darius Geis.
And this was great for him too.
Oh,
They have a great offensive line.
Yeah, I mean they really do. Last year they had a lot of injuries in that offensive line, but assuming that their whole team gets healthy, Geis gets healthy, their line gets healthy, Haskins, we can see if you aren't watching the draft, he was thrilled by this. He should be. Redskins fans should be thrilled to be getting Dwayne Haskins. He is going to go in there. You know, he now joins the NFC East. Him, Eli Manning / Daniel Jones. In New York, you know, Carson Wentz and
Dak Prescott.
And so he's in a fun league. He's gonna start immediately.
We'll see. You know, because here's the thing: are they gonna trade Case Keenum now?
I don't think they'll trade Case Keenum.
I feel bad for poor Case. If you move out to Washington and they trade you after you just trade, I mean,
I think here's what's gonna happen.
That's the business, but
I think they're gonna have Dwayne and then Case and then Colt McCoy. Because Alex Smith is completely out of the equation right now. Alex Smith might not even ever be able to play football again.
I don't think he's done though. He might not play this year, but I don't think he's done.
But his contract with the Redskins will, by the time he plays, I think, be up.
Oh, that's a good point.
So I think that what's going to happen is Keenum is going to back up Haskins, or it might be one of those situations, kind of with like a Jared Goff, where Keenum starts and then they work Haskins in when they think he's ready.
Jay Gruden, this is your last chance.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is. He's got to get it. He's got to get it together in Washington, and
or he'll end up with Sean McVay in L.A. on his coaching staff. I mean, that's really where I see this thing going. You know,
right.
You know, Jay Gruden he's somebody that, you know, was really a hot commodity. You know, coming into the coaching realm.
Yeah,
and it just hasn't worked out in Washington.
You know, he now gets to go up against his brother.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Redskins play the Raiders at all this season.
That's a good question. Well, no. Now I have to think about it because the Jets. Well, so say this like yeah, I don't even know. I like the schedule. I don't know the schedule by heart.
But
so
what we do know is the Titans are pick 16, they'll probably stay there.
Yeah.
I had them taking Greedy Williams, which was kind of unconventional, but I just felt like with the way that my board, that my mock happened, Greedy fell, and I felt like if he was there for the Titans, they'd take him. But also keep in mind, Byron Murphy's there as well. Brian Burns is there as well. There's a lot of talented guys still there. Juwan Taylor, but they don't really need an offensive tackle, you know, in Tennessee.
Well, let's just look because I mean,
Dexter Lawrence.
Carolina just picked. The pick was in immediately.
Wait. Carolina's up. Sorry, I was thinking Tennessee was up. You're right.
Well, I wasn't gonna be rude and be like.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. I have them taking Juwan Taylor.
Okay. I have well. Here's the thing. I had them taking Rashawn Gary, and now Rashawn Gary's gone.
Okay.
I could have seen Farrell. So now, I think they go Brian Burns.
Yeah,
But I
they
think
could.
everyone's going to go Brian Burns, apparently, because he's still not off the board. If the Giants can get Brian Burns at 17, that might save their entire draft.
I don't know. I haven't taken. I think they're gonna go Juwan Taylor.
Or
Can't let Cam get knocked down this much.
or Carolina lost Devin Funchess, or they let Devin Funchess go. Do they get Metcalf? They drafted DJ Moore last year in the first round. I believe it was pick 16. This same pick. Do they grab another receiver at this pick?
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, they could go DK Metcalf. They could go tight end because Greg Olsen is getting up there, and other than him, they don't. I don't think they have. I'm trying to think. Of course, in the moment, it's hard to think, but I think it's going to be Juwan Taylor.
I love Juwan Taylor.
Yeah,
I mean, he's my number one tackle.
That's who I think it's going to be. But pick is in. We're going to watch Roger Goodell come up now and announce the Panthers' 16th overall pick. Brian Burns.
That's a great pick. That's
Jake's guy.
That's A+ right there. Brian Burns, elite athlete, best edge, in my opinion, best edge defender in the draft you get at 16. So not only did Carolina fans get a chance to watch their team, actually compete this year, because I mean they weren't great, but they weren't bad. You could watch Carolina football and be like, okay, this team's not bad. They get a chance to bring in who I think is the best edge defender in this class. So they get Brian Burns. Brian Burns, what he's going to provide off the edge, he's super explosive. He's a rare athlete, first and foremost, but just the bend, the natural bend. I don't like comparing guys to Von Miller, but I think he's very close to Von Miller. I think he's that level of talent. And there are times on film you will see him. He'll spin move, and a guy will take advantage of it. The inside leverage may not be there. He might get pushed out of a play here and there. But overall, Brian Burns had the best film of any edge guy that I watched. I think he is phenomenal, and I think Carolina's getting an absolute stud at 16.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think it's unreasonable that Brian Burns fell this low.
I can't believe he fell this far.
We're getting some more comments about the sound from the Facebook Live.
So we'll move the mic closer.
Move it a little closer. I think it's just the Facebook Live. I think everyone else on everything is fine. But the Facebook Live, we are working on the sound. While Jake works on that, the Giants have their second pick now. They went Daniel Jones at 6. I think they could go Cody Ford here. Offensive lineman.
They could go Juwan Taylor.
Yeah, that's true, because Juwan Taylor is still there. They could go Byron Murphy, because they have the only starting quality corner that the Giants have is Janoris Jenkins.
Yeah.
That other side is weak. They've been rotating a few guys in. So I really could see Greedy Williams or Byron Murphy going here at 17, because I'm sure the Giants did expect them to be here. So they're probably now trying to look at their boards and figure out who they're going to take.
Yeah, I think the Giants, it might have been a second or third round pick, but last year they actually picked Sam Beal in the supplemental draft. And he's a corner they really liked. Unfortunately, he got hurt early in the process, had a foot injury. It was one of those really bad foot injuries like E.J. Gaines had with the Rams. So he never came back. So they really like him. We'll see. Last year they started B.W. Webb, who I'm just not a fan of at all. I know that the Bengals signed him, but I think the Giants definitely make sense to go out and get the best corner in the draft at 17.
Right.
I mean,
a corner has not been taken, and it's pick 17.
That's a passing league, folks.
Right.
This isn't ground and pound. This isn't Jack Ham. This is, we're talking about Rams, Chiefs, 54-51. This is that era of football.
I'm saying that they're taking Byron Murphy or an offensive tackle, but I would think that with no corner going yet, and Byron Murphy and Greedy Williams still available, I think the Giants go corner.
I think the Giants are the luckiest team in the draft right now. You know why? Trade away OBJ. They're taking DK Metcalf because things just happen to work out perfectly for them. I told you so. The I told you so. Like, we traded Odell Beckham Jr. because we knew that he was going to be there. Of course, they didn't, but they did get rid of Olivier Vernon, right?
Yeah.
Via trade. So that's the interesting thing. They have a positionless player in. He was part of that trade. the guy from Michigan, who I forget his name now.
Jabril Peppers.
Jabril Peppers, thank you. So they
know,
have pieces there. They brought in Marcus Golden. I'm a huge fan of Marcus Golden. He's back with James Betcher.
Yep.
He had 12 and a half sacks with James Betcher
Mhm.
in Arizona. So they could go edge. They could go Montez Sweat here, but I think it's Metcalf. I think it's kind of like Gettleman, and I'm not saying he's right for this, but I think Gettleman will be. This is the I told you so moment. We trade Odell Beckham Jr. away, and we get a
and
stud
you know what?
in DK Metcalf.
I had them taking Sweat, but I love that DK Metcalf pick because here's
I
why.
like the Sweat pick as well. I think you get credit for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
that
that's
could be
who
the
I
pick.
had. But I think with you have Barkley, Golden Tate, Metcalf, Evan Ingram,
Sterling Shepard,
I
and
mean,
Cody Latimer. So they're
Cody
deep
Latimer.
there.
And you have to make up for the fact if you do start Eli because now you got Daniel Jones.
But think about it, they could also go Noah Fant as well.
They could, yeah, and they could do that.
I'm not saying I
end.
would do that.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't if I were them.
And I think it's funny. My comparison for Noah Fant, Evan Ingram. So I wouldn't do that. But
yeah,
I'm not saying they won't. I think it's DK Metcalf. And I think they are very lucky that they were able to swing that. If well, they're lucky anyway because they had a chance to get Haskins, or not Haskins, but Drew Lock here. Or maybe, and I said this to my friend,
mm-hmm.
and remember a couple of years ago, the Browns had 2 picks in the top 5.
Yeah.
And people were talking about them selecting not 1 but 2 quarterbacks. And holding them like hostage, right? Because quarterbacks are currency in this league. Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
if they take Drew Lock here, I'll scream.
If they take Drew Lock, what if they take Drew Lock and they trick all of you and they would trick us too, and they send Daniel Jones to a team.
Here's another thing to keep in mind as I'm looking at the screen. Josh Rosen hasn't been traded yet.
Josh Rosen has not been traded yet, but the pick is in, so they're not trading this away.
They're not trading it away.
I think
Giants,
it's DK Metcalf.
I'm starting to think it's DK Metcalf. If it's not, I would like to see Cody Ford or Jawan Taylor, just because the protection has been atrocious in New York, and I think that I would like to see that. But DK Metcalf, knowing Gettleman, and they have to back it up. They traded away Odell Beckham.
I definitely hear you there.
We're still working on the sound issue on Facebook Live, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. You could see him do something crazy, like get a safety. Oh wait, did they add a safety in free agency? The Giants?
The Giants? No, they lost Landon Collins.
They lost, yeah. So you could see him go like a Nasir Adderley.
Adderley would be a great pick. The Giants have a lot of ways they can go, and we say that a lot.
Yeah.
But the way this draft is going, guys are falling that no one were expecting Burns to go 16, or just the way he was getting that buzz, and then Oliver at 9. Daniel Jones we heard at 6, and we were kind of like we scoffed, but it ended up happening. Farrell is by far the biggest reach of this draft because no one had Farrell going top 5. No one.
Nobody did in the world.
I remember when Farrell was mocked last year to the Rams, like later in the draft. Yeah. And I mean,
they got. As I've said before, I've said on our show many times, I have a special place. The Giants are my adopted second team, and I want Metcalf now. I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking of giving away Odell Beckham. I'm thinking about.
Let us know how. I just turned up the gain, so let us know if the sound issue keeps occurring on Facebook.
Okay, Giants selection.
But the Giants selection
pick is in.
Here, so
let's see. I can't read his lips.
I can't read him either.
He's talking about something.
Yeah, I can't.
Was there a trade and he's announcing it? Or
he has to announce the trade previously. Okay, this is cool. I love this. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, this is really cool. Sorry guys, again, we don't have the volume.
We don't have the volume.
Wow, so Dexter Lawrence is the pick, and I'm just shocked. But I mean, Dexter Lawrence, he's a nose tackle. They do run a 3-4, right? So James Betcher's getting his nose tackle. there. You know how I feel about drafting a nose tackle in the first round because the Rams, they were rumored to be in that neighborhood for
Yeah.
Lawrence. Lawrence does come with some off the field issues, and I'm not saying he's hurt anybody or anybody like that, but he has
Right.
failed multiple
He's
drug
got some.
tests.
Yeah, he's got that. He has some interview character issues. Teams weren't impressed with his interviews. I don't like this pick.
Oh, I don't like it,
I don't
but I
like the
get it.
pick. I can understand
I
it. I
get it
mean,
though.
I just look at all the talent on the board,
That's really what we're talking about,
and I'm not
But how
impressed.
funny is it? It's the Clemson guys. It's Farrell. Farrell goes fourth, and now you have Lawrence at 17, and people had Lawrence going in the second round.
Well, it's
Lawrence is a second rounder for me, but I understand the fit for Betcher. I do.
well, and it's the Giants because Jones and Lawrence.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't get it.
I'm interested to know what my well, not just my friend, but the owner of Downtown Giants, part of the Downtown Sports Network, where we give away a hat and
Yeah.
free stuff. What he thinks, because he did not want. I can tell you right now, he did not want Daniel Jones. He wanted Haskins or Burns.
Yeah.
Burns obviously goes right before that pick, but I don't think they were gonna. I mean, if they took Lawrence there, the only one I would have seen them taking if he was there is either maybe Gary, or Christian Wilkins. So that's probably where they were looking, and Lawrence kind of fell into. I guess he was their guy.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like
I
it.
do
I
want to.
mean,
I
I
can't
can
stress that enough. I'm on board with you.
I can try to. I can understand. I mean, I understand it. I don't care for that pick. I
Yeah.
mean, look at Cody Ford and Juwan Taylor on the board.
Oh yeah.
The Giants' offensive line has been atrocious. I
Well,
mean,
I think the later teams. I mean, you're playing with fire. Green Bay has another pick, right? Seattle has two picks. Indianapolis has a pick. Okay. Oakland has two more picks. The Rams have a pick, and the Patriots have a pick, and of course the Chargers. Now you're playing with fire. The bottom tier of the league has kind of reached on some talent, and I think now you're going to see some big time talent go in perfect spots that these teams weren't even considering. Like the Rams we talked about, obviously being Rams fans and covering for Downtown Rams. The Rams got calls from 8 different teams. I think probably more than that. That information doesn't get out unless they leak it. So that's interesting. Would they trade down if somebody crazy falls? But the pick is in for Minnesota, and I kind of feel I'm leaning towards Garrett Bradbury. That's kind of where I think here. I think that's kind of been where he's been linked. We've seen in the past. Everyone was talking about DJ Moore last year going to the Panthers. That was one of the only things I got right.
right.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the same with Bradbury here. You got to protect your investment in Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think I had them taking Lindstrom. So I think Bradbury makes a lot of sense right here for the Vikings. They need offensive line help pretty bad, and they spent a lot of money on Kirk Cousins, so
yeah, a lot of money.
They got to protect him. I mean,
he's got some primetime games too that he's never won on primetime. So
never. And
they're gonna need to protect him. And the Vikings, they were everyone's team. Everyone was picking them to go to either the Super Bowl or the NFC title game when they got Kirk Cousins, and they didn't make the playoffs. So the Eagles did, and to me there has to be a pit in their stomach about that. Go out, protect your quarterback. I agree. If they go out and they get Garrett Bradbury, I think it makes a lot of sense. So looks like the pick is obviously in, but it looks like the Viking selection's coming up. So final prediction here.
Bradbury. I think you're right.
Okay, so we got a sweep there
off
for
the
Bradbury.
board. Yeah, I think it's Bradbury.
This is also my mock
Bradbury.
draft had Garrett Bradbury. I had Chris Bradbury because I spelled his name wrong. But
there he is. He's at home.
From NC State.
NC State, yeah. But no, I think this is a good pick. I had Lindstrom going here because this is the first time I had a guard going. So I mean, since Lindstrom's gone, I think Bradbury makes a lot of sense. I had him going to the Seahawks.
Do you think he'll play guard or center? Because they did have.
I think they'll play guard. He'll play guard because Pat Elflein plays center for them, and he's pretty good.
Well, he can also play guard, so maybe they'll battle. I know the Vikings still looking to get back because when John Sullivan was in his prime, he was really good at center, and they also had Joe Berger. Granted, Berger took a little bit to get to that level, and then now he's kind of over. Well, I don't even know if he's still on the roster anymore, but he's a little over the hill. I think he's like 34. So I
Yeah,
like this. I like this pick
I
a
love
lot.
it. They have him listed as a center.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I mean, it's going to be him and Elfline are kind of a mix and match situation. So I think they're going to test out who, where they play and what's more cohesive and do it there. But yeah, so then Vikings pick Garrett Bradbury. He's what's interesting about Bradbury is he was going into college. He went into college as a tight end, which is insane because he looks a little small to be a tight end to me.
Yeah.
And that's the argument that he gets for offensive line is that he's undersized.
Yeah, he's under. We hear about that all the time. Obviously, people say that Zach Martin undersized, and the short arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. But I think this is a good pick for the Vikings. Clearly, they fell in love with him. So.
Well, now you got the Titans up, and I had the Titans taking Greedy Williams, but no corner has been taken. It is pick 19. No cornerback is off the board.
That's
Not
crazy
sure what's
to
happening. Me. Byron Murphy and Greedy Williams are still there. I had them taking Greedy Williams because I had Byron Murphy gone. Now I'd say maybe they go Byron Murphy, maybe they go or Greedy Williams. I could see them going like defensive line. Maybe maybe something crazy like receiver, DK Metcalf. I mean, they haven't had their best receiver.
I can't get over how many guys are falling.
I know. Well, you look at the Titans, and this very well could be Metcalf because the best receiver for the Titans was
Corey Davis. They love him, but
he did terrible last season. I know. I had him in fantasy. He was horrible.
He's a former 5th overall pick. They'll obviously not cut him, but if you, I agree with you. I mean, he hasn't lived up to the potential yet.
Mm-hmm.
He did, catch that game winning. It was just a game winner against the Eagles last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge for them. Obviously, they didn't make the playoffs, but they grab him. They grab Adoree Jackson last year. To me, I could see Metcalf. I could see Cody Ford. I could see Cody Ford with his versatility to play guard and tackle.
I could see Ford, but
Reisner. I mean, it would be early per these mocks that we've seen.
Right.
But we don't question it. We talked to Reisner. I mean, Reisner is one of the best guys at his position.
Right.
Could go. I said between 12 and I'd say 32. So I mean that they obviously they add Roger Saffold to the mix, so that offensive line's beefed up a little bit. So maybe they don't go offensive line. Ryan Tannehill, backup quarterback for them because they have Marcus Mariota, and I don't think that they're ready to just can Marcus Mariota quite yet.
I don't think so either. I think I think they could do more. I mean, like you said, guys are falling. They could do anything. I'm trying to think about who their safety is. They could even go Nasir Adderley. Their pick isn't in yet. Who knows? Maybe they do something like a Noah Fant.
Yeah, I mean that would make a lot of sense. And as the draft keeps, as it rolls on, do the Patriots try and trade up for a tight end?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't even have them taking a tight end in the first round. I have them doing.
See, that would be interesting.
The tight end depth is so deep in this class.
That's true.
That I think that the Patriots know that and that they've got 2 late second round picks.
Yeah.
I think they'll take a tight end there. But who knows? Pick is in for the Titans. Let's see what's up with them. But I mean, there's a lot of Titans fans there. Drafts in Nashville, so that they're repping
this is the hometown crowd.
Hometown pick. Everyone's amped. We'll see. I have them taking Greedy Williams, but yet again, Byron Murphy is still on the board.
Yeah, Byron Murphy. I mean, I know they got, obviously they got Adoree Jackson, and they got Logan Ryan, who they paid a lot for. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Logan Ryan's a guy they spent a lot on, but it'd be hard for me to pass on Byron Murphy. But then again, I mean, all these guys keep falling.
All these guys
Metcalf
keep falling. So nothing has been. A few things have been predictable. I mean, I think I've seen crazier drafts, but I've also seen less crazy drafts. It's funny. Everyone in Nashville's like dying for this pick to be made because it's in.
Wouldn't you want to be there for just this pick? I just would love to see the app. Like, look at that. like the atmosphere there.
Oh, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's the NFL draft.
Oh yeah.
You know, people are amped. People are excited. He's bringing out. It looks like Roger Goodell's bringing out a local high school football team
That's
for the
cool.
pick. It's cool.
It's like different football players.
Different teams in the area is what I'm going to assume because no sound.
Yeah, no sound.
But no, they've done this before. They typically will do that. Yeah, high school football captains from Davidson County in Tennessee. They typically, for the hometown picks, bring out local high school football players. So.
And here we go.
Here we go. Let's see who the Tennessee Titans picking. Someone's gonna read it.
Who's reading it? This
Maybe.
is why no sound just kills us. It's like
Goodell's reading it. Actually, I take back everything I said. Let's see.
awesome.
Wow, they moved away from his face.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay. People forget about Jeffrey Simmons because Jeffrey Simmons is a guy who would have been a top 10 pick had he not gotten hurt. He went down with a terrible, I think, ACL injury. Obviously hurt his stock. He's not going to be able to play this season. Maybe towards the end.
Yeah.
You get a team like maybe the Titans could potentially be there in the postseason. He had some off-field concerns as well as the injury, which might have also hurt him, whether he got injured or not. But yeah, I mean, the Titans are taking a risk. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're not going to be able to use their first-round pick right away. So
yeah,
not necessarily anything wrong with that, but
well, here's the weird thing is like we've had draft injuries before. Like things happen during the draft process that a guy was clearly going to go here and didn't because some crazy thing came up. I believe it was last year, Billy Price with the pectoral.
Yep.
He tore it benching at the combine. And you talk about that, and then of course the notorious Sidney Jones out of Washington. He tore his Achilles, and that was actually on video because it was from his pro day. The Eagles went and they redshirted him basically, and as we like to call it. And I mean he's a solid player. Billy Price is a solid football player. So now Jeffrey Simmons is the next guy, notable draft guy before the draft gets hurt. When will he play? They said, I mean, he sounds like he's on schedule, not on schedule to play, but on schedule, for having an ACL tear. So I like this pick, obviously. You put him next to Jarrell Casey. Casey's an animal. Casey's been one of the best interior defensive linemen in football for years. So Mike Vrabel, being the defensive-minded coach he is, this makes a lot of sense. Eventually you get Jeffrey Simmons, and the thing about getting Simmons here, fifth-year option.
Right, and I want to point out something because the Broncos are up now because of that trade with the Steelers. Drew Lock is still on the board.
Wild.
Could it be that after all this, Elway still gets his guy?
I mean,
he trades it away, trades the pick away. Okay?
It just makes that. I love that trade with them and the Steelers because the Steelers got exactly what they. That's what trades are for.
I know
it benefits both teams.
Well, now the Broncos could get what they want.
Yeah.
So. Who knows?
So yeah.
So we I don't know. We are having a connection.
Yeah, we're having some issues. So we will be Alexis will be right back. So
I'm gonna handle it. It's all good. I know what I'm doing. We're back.
We're back, guys.
Did you miss us?
Yeah, we.
There was technical stuff going on, but we you didn't miss much. We really didn't miss anything because the Broncos haven't announced their pick yet. But, as we were saying before we went on break, could it be after all this time that Locke gets his guy? I mean, Elway gets his guy, which is Locke. Because, obviously he didn't want Locke that bad because he just gave away the 10th pick.
And
but
at
now,
the same time, Byron Murphy's there. And they, Chris Harris stuff. So it's what are they going to do?
I had them taking Byron Murphy at 10.
This is definitely going to be interesting. I know we say this a lot, but must-watch TV is the NFL draft.
The NFL draft. I mean, absolutely insane.
And we appreciate you guys for watching with us because guess what? Endgame came out. And Avengers Endgame.
Aw, so you guys are watching us instead of Endgame?
Good
choice.
Yeah. Because you can always watch Endgame another day.
Yeah, you can watch Endgame anytime.
But you can't watch the draft live.
Full disclosure, Jake and I are seeing it tomorrow.
Yeah.
We are watching Endgame tomorrow.
Early in the morning. So we're going to be...
Yeah.
We're still doing it tomorrow. We're doing it Saturday as well.
Right.
Going to have this live thing going. For Downtown Rams, for those Rams-centric people that are watching, we will have a Rams video up after the draft, breaking down the draft class, and giving everybody a grade. So hopefully there are some, hashtag Team DTR guys on that Rams team, but, remains to be seen.
And the Denver pick is in, and you know who another guy that could go here?
Who?
Our guy, Dalton Reisner.
Dalton Reisner could, from Wiggins, Colorado.
Yep, and wouldn't be shocked if he went here, but I had them taking Byron Murphy at 10, and Byron Murphy is still there somehow. So, we'll have to see. You've got, like you said, you've got Chris Harris, who's requested a trade.
Yeah.
If they take Byron Murphy, he'll probably get it.
I will say I can't blame Chris Harris for requesting a trade. Also, I am a Kansas Jayhawk fan, so I have Chris Harris's back always. But it'll be really interesting to see where he goes as well. Because we don't know. Is he going to go, we've seen draft trades before, but it never happens like the top guys during the draft, Mm-hmm. It's more so like the Zach Stacy, hashtag yikes.
Right.
It's never like top players. So, that'll be interesting. And again, it's never top players, but Rosen is another guy,
Ooh,
now he has to go somewhere, right? But is it going to happen now or are they going to wait?
Well, Denver's not trading the pick. So it can't be Denver.
Well, it's definitely not going to be Denver.
But Rosen will probably, the only way, they're going to give up Rosen for a first, which is, they got to, maybe a second. Pick is in, who are you calling? I'm calling Byron Murphy.
Wow, okay. Let's see.
Here he comes, folks. Moment of truth, Denver Broncos fans.
I'm going to go Byron Murphy as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I still just don't. I'm not confident in his pick. It should be Drew Lock, or Byron Murphy, but it's Noah Fant.
Noah Fant. Okay. I don't mind that pick. I'm a little bit shocked.
Just a little bit.
No corner has been taken and will now be in the 21st pick. I'm shocked Drew Lock hasn't been taken.
He's definitely, he's very good. Noah Fant.
Oh, like, no, for sure.
This pick, you can't
Love
hate
it.
the pick.
I think that it's a good pick for Denver. I had them taking a tight end in the second.
I want to know why Drew Lock's still there. This was the preseason number one quarterback.
He was, and I think everyone is shocked that Denver didn't take him, but I think Elway loves Justin Herbert, and I think he wants him next year. And I think they've also got Flacco, and like I said, you don't trade for Flacco when you don't have any intention to start him. So,
I'm a little shocked that Drew Lock is still there. And Seattle signed Russell Wilson, so they're not going to pick him. Maybe they trade it away because they have 2 picks. I'm looking here, Baltimore.
Isn't a Seattle?
Baltimore has Lamar Jackson, so they're not going to.
Oh, yeah.
Houston has not Dwayne Haskins. They have Deshaun Watson. Oakland's the interesting one. What does Oakland do?
If Oakland could take,
Oakland's not committed to Derek Carr.
That's the only team. The Chargers also could be looking for Phillip Rivers' replacement. That's an option.
They do have Tyrod Taylor though.
Now here's what I want to say: if Drew Lock is there at 32,
that has to be. Well,
then the Patriots will take him.
Well, who would they? I feel like with the Patriots mold, they're gonna either take him or they'll take a Jerry Tillery or somebody like that.
I have them taking Jerry Tillery, but also I have them taking Jerry Tillery in a draft where Drew Lock went 13. So, things change. I wouldn't be shocked, but Seattle's up. I had Seattle taking Bradbury. Uh, you know, do they go? They also picked 27. So they got 2 picks because they gave away Frank Clark. Now, because they gave Frank Clark away, they could take an edge guy or an interior defensive lineman. They could take a Ja'Kai Polite, is who I have them taking at 27. They could take him at 21.
Yeah, they definitely could. I see that, like, there's some volume, concerns from the audience. I think it's just Facebook Live for whatever reason, because I've had issues with Facebook Live. So we are working on that still. Trying to boost up the gain and see if you guys can hear. But I mean, I think there we go. The levels are going up a little bit here. But now we have Seattle, so that this will be interesting because I felt like Gary could go to Seattle. I really did.
Yeah.
That seems like a guy that they would like, but they could also go with Ja'Kai Polite, with these next 2 picks. One of them.
No, I think they're going Byron Murphy.
Well, he doesn't. I will say this.
Greedy Williams.
He doesn't fit the build of a John Schneider defensive back.
That's true. Well, what about Greedy Williams?
What about Justin Lane to shock everybody? Because Justin Lane is your prototypical former wide receiver, 6'3".
Yeah, maybe, but
freak athlete. He's my number 2 corner on the board, and they just traded it with Green Bay. So,
my!
We are
Seattle
back.
And Green Bay trade. Okay, who is Green Bay trading up to take? It's not Drew Lock. It could be. I don't think that they need a corner. I don't think it's going to be a corner. I mean, they got Jair Alexander and
Josh Jackson.
So it's not a corner. Who's still on the board? It could be
it
like
could
a Juwan Taylor.
Because they could view Byron Murphy as their slot guy.
They could. Well, but they could also be like a Juwan Taylor is still on the board. A Cody Ford is still on the board.
You do want
Montez Sweat is still on the board. But like you said, they kind of have invested in their edge guys.
Well, and they just got Rashawn Gary.
Right. I could see him doing something like a DK Metcalf.
And also, Alexis.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, Green Bay still has their pick at 30. So they want 3 picks. They didn't trade up. They didn't swap with Seattle. They traded. They wanted to get an extra pick. So this is going to be a decent haul.
So I'm curious to see what they gave up to probably next year's first.
Oh, no, they just updated it. Seattle is going to... Okay, so it's a swap. Seattle gets back-to-back before the Rams so they can tear our heart out.
They'll probably take Reisner.
They're going to... Back-to-back, they're going to take Reisner and Byron Murphy. And Byron Murphy somehow will fall there just to spite us, but...
Okay, so Green Bay swapped. I think that they're going to go DK Metcalf. Not one wide receiver or corner has been taken at 21.
Yeah. It's got to be. I mean, I was saying that they should pick him when he was there.
It's DK Metcalf.
Aaron Rodgers, best receivers, and with all due respect,
right?
Greg Jennings, Donald. He played a little bit with Donald Driver, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, and of course, they have Devontae Adams. DK Metcalf is of the tier of like an AJ Green, who I've said for years the Packers should consider trading for, because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a receiver like Brady had Gronkowski. He doesn't have an elite receiver. He doesn't have an AJ Green.
Well, that brings up an interesting point. Do they go like an Irv Smith?
I think that's a little too early.
I do too. But do you think that
that's a decent trade down? So they get 2 4th-round picks.
That's good for Seattle.
And their early pick, they're back-to-back, between 4 picks. So they get the 114th pick and the 118th pick. I like that a lot for Seattle, because you have 2 picks, in this first round. You've now packaged, you turned a player that you weren't going to re-sign, in Frank Clark. You turned him into a first-rounder this year. You got other, picks coming in next year.
Right.
And now you have 2 4th-round picks to add. And we talk about it all the time. This is a deep draft class. We're going to be talking about these players all week long, the rest of the week. So I definitely like the trade. Now, Green Bay, I want to see who they wanted to trade up for. My guess, it has to be Metcalf.
It's got to be Metcalf. I mean,
Or it could be Byron Murphy. See, it has to be this guy, but it could be this guy. That's
well,
kind of how this draft is going.
The reason I don't think it's Byron Murphy is I think they really like Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson. When they're healthy, those are their two starting corners. I think.
But you could smother the competition because Jair was my number one corner last year. Byron Murphy's my number one corner this year. Josh Jackson, he's a good boundary corner. He's bigger. Jair's he can play, slot corner. He could play on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So can Byron Murphy. If that's his biggest knock, if Byron Murphy's biggest knock is that he can't play on the boundary, I just think that's a fallacy. So I absolutely could see him going there. I'm gonna just throw my pick in. I think it's DK Metcalf.
Yeah, that's what I think it is.
Yeah. So
I think it's DK Metcalf. I think that's a bigger need for them than corner. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if it's a corner.
No, I wouldn't either.
Roger Goodell's about to announce the Green Bay Packers pick.
And we'll see.
Darnell Savage.
Wow.
That is someone who I know you had ranked very high. I had him ranked somewhat high. I had Nasir Adderley before him.
Oh, yeah, I had Adderley and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Will Harris ahead of him.
So, which is weird
but
for me that they trade up for him because I think I didn't even have him going in the first.
Well, we also need, there was buzz growing. I had him going to the Packers at 30. I didn't think they trade up to get him this high because this is the first safety taken.
Right. I had them taking
this is incredible. I did not expect him to be the first safety taken.
No, neither did I. I had the Packers taking Nasir Adderley at 30. I only had one safety.
You can't go wrong. I mean, Josh Jones gives you something there. And, again, you're giving Pettin more assets.
Right. I just want to say, so Darnell Savage is an athletic freak. I mean, he ran a 4.3 40.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I watched him at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he's like a car accident.
Right. I mean, his only knock really is that he's a little bit undersized. He might need tackling work. But other than that, I think it's a great pick. Now, trade. Eagles just acquired the 22nd overall pick from the Ravens. So now you say, who are the Eagles trading up for? Dare we say DK Metcalf?
That would be something, but
I had them taking.
I feel like it's gonna be Hollywood Brown.
I think it might be Byron Murphy.
Well, it could be.
So
they need help in the secondary. They'll take anybody.
Exactly. I had them taking DeAndre Baker.
Yeah.
But now Byron Murphy's there. DK Metcalf's there.
All those mock drafts that we laughed at people for. Oh, there's no way Byron Murphy's gonna fall. Oh, what? You don't have DK Metcalf in the top 10?
It's funny because like I mentioned, I do a lot of Twitter mocks, and it happens all the time. And the whole thing was, in Twitter mocks, people always fall. But now we know it's real mocks, too. Or real drafts.
Yeah.
Because,
they're trading ahead of Houston and Oakland, giving up a 4th and a 6th, just 3 spots. So they must have gotten intel that one of those guys really liked the guy that they're about to take. Houston, I would imagine, is going offensive line.
Yeah.
Oakland could go anywhere. They have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Sorry, you continue.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a receiver or corner here. I think it's going to be DK Metcalf, Byron Murphy, or Greedy Williams. That's the only people that I see them trading this far up for, because if I look at everybody else, they probably would have still been there had they not traded up, and they gave up a lot. I mean. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, really, you have to think about who they have. I mean, they don't have a bad receiving core, the Eagles. I mean, they have...
Sounds like they're out on Aguilar, who was their 2015 first-round pick.
Who did they just signed? They have Alshon Jeffrey and
Jordan Matthews left. So
yeah, but who did they just sign? They signed a free agent, a receiver.
They signed a they traded for Golden Tate and he got away. But you're right. They did sign a receiver. Whose name
I think it's going to be DK Metcalf, as I've said the last 3 picks.
They traded. They traded for Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, they have Deshaun Jackson.
So do you add? I mean, this would be crazy. But do you just go speed kills and you grab, Hollywood Brown? I mean,
You could.
I could see them doing.
I
That's something they have done before. But I mean, I agree with you. I think Metcalf would make a lot. It's not a you now have Jeffrey Metcalf, and then you have Deshaun Jackson in the slot.
That's what I think they do. I don't. I mean, who knows?
Give Carson Wentz a giant body to throw to.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles need to step it up.
But you also need to protect Carson Wentz. So
yeah, but see, the Eagles are a team that they got to get back. They won a Super Bowl and then rapidly declined afterwards. A large part of that was because of Carson Wentz's injury. So maybe you try to protect Carson Wentz now. You've got some good guys on that offensive line, but maybe you're like, listen, I want the most solid offensive line in the NFL, and you take like a Jawan Taylor or Cody Ford here. Who knows? I think that there's a lot of different ways that they can go with it. The pick is in.
We'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm a little nervous, honestly. Who do you think? You get one guess.
I'm gonna say that's tough. Metcalf would make a lot of sense. I'm gonna say it's Byron Murphy.
I mean, yeah, it's one of the. I would.
The bottom line is we can agree Eagles are getting a really good player at 22.
Right. Philadelphia Eagles pick coming up. Andre Dillard.
That makes sense because they traded ahead of Houston, who probably wanted Andre Dillard.
Yep.
We've been talking about
and
Dillard or Cody Ford. Mm-hmm. You've brought him up repeatedly in this.
I think Houston loves Cody Ford, so I think that Houston might also take Cody Ford.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, like I said, again, protecting Carson Wentz. They have put everything on Carson Wentz. They gave away Nick Foles because they believe in Carson Wentz. They have to protect him. It makes sense. Andre Dillard is maybe the safest offensive tackle to pick. I mean, he's a guy who was a 4-year starter in college, tons of experience, has really high character. Every team who's talked to him has commented on how great he did in interviews, and athletically, he's insane. I mean, it's a safe pick. I think it makes sense they traded up for him, and yeah, I mean, it's a good pick, I think.
Yeah.
He'll fit in on an offensive line that already has guys like Jason Peters and Jason Kelce.
Jason Peters is going to be, he's going to be there for probably one more year. Mm-hmm. And, you're talking about a similar situation with the Andrew Whitworth, Rams situation.
Right.
Now they get their guy, and he exclusively played left tackle at Washington State, but he can play tackle. I think he could play guard for a year. He's a raw, run blocker, but he's got great he's got great technique as a pass protector, and I think that's really why the Eagles wanted to go up and get their heir to the throne, if you will, in Jason, behind Jason Peters and Andre Dillard. Dillard kept Gardner Minshew upright, so
right.
Minshew was able to have a really good season because of Andre Dillard being able to keep him upright. You can't throw the football without a left tackle, and he did a really nice job this year. So he was a guy that was buzzing at the Senior Bowl.
Right.
They were talking about him third round. I heard people saying, and then look at this. He's manhandling, different guys. I mean, here's Montez Sweat. That was Jalen Ferguson there. So I mean, he was really good at the Senior Bowl, and I think that definitely helped his stock.
I think so too, and I think we're now at pick 23, and no receiver or corner has been taken, and I am almost positive that an offensive lineman is going to go to Houston. I know they have to protect Deshaun Watson.
Well, who were they taking? Jawan Taylor's there.
Yeah, Jawan Taylor or Cody Ford.
Those are the best guys.
Or
Reisner.
Yeah, I had them taking and I think I had them taking Cody Ford in my mock that I released. The ticker's not at the bottom right now, but I think that I had them taking Cody Ford. The Texans are an up and coming team. That I could see them going receiver as well. I don't think they need it. I could see them taking it because
there's no way Metcalf's falling out of the first round. So
no, if we finish the first round without a receiver being taken,
but what does that tell you? The way the league's What if the Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. situations, regardless if it was Odell's fault or not, scare teams committing long term to star wide receivers?
Yeah.
You're paying a lot of money, if you draft a guy in the first round. So you draft a receiver, that whole thing goes, all receivers are divas. I don't agree, because Robert Woods is a prime example of not all receivers are divas. But that's really the interesting thing here. And the craziest thing, Alexis, is that this is one of the best receiver groups I've ever scouted. Ever. It's definitely impressive. So,
Yeah, I'm pick is in for the Houston Texans. I'm banking on an offensive tackle, or anyone on the offensive line.
Yeah, I would agree.
Maybe a corner.
I say Texans go. I'm gonna go with you, Cody Ford. I think
that's who I think that they're going to take.
That's a good.
I
pick,
do know that they really liked Reisner though. But again, they look and they probably thought that Cody Ford would be
the
gone.
writing's on the wall, Alexis. Seattle's gonna rip our heart out and take Reisner on one of those picks.
I'll cry on this broadcast. I will look into the camera and cry if that happens. But pick is in for Houston. Jake and I are going Cody Ford.
Yeah, we'll see. I think
crazier things have happened.
Yeah. Well, Oakland has 2 picks coming up, so if Metcalf isn't selected here, you'd have to imagine Metcalf's going to get selected within the next 4 picks. Indianapolis, the opportunity to get DK Metcalf would be huge. I don't know if somebody like Ballard would do that. He likes cooping picks. So I think they will trade down, but
yeah. Well, I had Indianapolis taking N'Keal Harry. So if
that kind of matches up there,
right?
It's
so
like N'Keal's not going in the first round. The way this is going,
right? I mean, if Metcalf is there by Indy's pick, they're going to take Metcalf.
Oakland, I feel like one of those they're taking Josh Jacobs. I think that intel got out. Like they really like him.
Yeah, I haven't. That's who I had them taking in my mock.
And if the Eagles didn't go out and say we're getting Jordan Howard, I think they would have taken Josh Jacobs.
Well,
but they were in a better position. This is why you make those trades, so you don't reach on just a position.
Right. Well, Houston Texans pick is up. Goodell's reading it now. Titus Howard. Whoa. What?
Titus Howard is
I'm laughing not to be rude, but I'm like actually flabbergasted.
Well, this is the guy he met with the Rams. Okay,
he's very good.
They like him. There are teams around the league that really like him, but he is a little raw. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Julian Davenport, who they drafted, and the reason why they're drafting a tackle is because of Julian Davenport. So I'm a little confused. You don't just go with kind of. I'm not saying anybody's a sure thing in this draft,
right.
But Jawan Taylor and Cody Ford. Jawan Taylor has the highest upside.
Yeah.
Cody Ford's. We talk about plug and play. He's a plug and play guy. So I like Titus Howard. We talked to guys from Alabama State. And Titus Howard is a really good prospect. I'm surprised he went in the first round. Absolutely shocked.
Me too. I had him going at the end of the second, early third. I mean, almost more shocking than the Farrell trade, or Farrell picks, excuse me. But a team like what we find is teams like who they like, and they have their reasons, and they take I just think with Jawan Taylor and Cody Ford, this does actually make me a little alleviated that they're on the board, because then Seattle might take Ford or Taylor, and Reisner is available for the Rams. And my heart is beating so fast because I talk way too much about Dalton Reisner. Jake and I both have very good relationships with Dalton Reisner.
Well, he's a great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a fantastic guy.
Well,
I could talk for hours.
Shout out to him because, we had Calvin Anderson on our podcast who was going to get drafted. He is a very talented left tackle out of Texas, transferred from Rice.
Yeah, graduate transfer.
Graduate transfer. So, little did we know, we're interviewing him, he says, I've talked to a lot of guys, and, they really like your show, and they say how great your show is. That was before we did the interview. Afterwards, he tells us Dalton Reisner was the one that was
he's our boy.
Throwing our name out there, so we appreciate
him
that.
and Calvin we love. But, I have the Rams take. It was maybe biased. I am taking Reisner, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on this Oakland pick right now. I have Oakland taking Josh Jacobs, running back from Alabama. I have Josh Jacobs as the only running back going in the first
This is where you
round.
take him because Baltimore's next. And
Yep.
Baltimore will take him if you don't. That's kind of how I
Well,
look at it.
I think Baltimore's going to take a receiver
Well, now
because they have Mark Ingram.
they could get and that's so. They do have Mark Ingram. That's a good point. With Lamar Jackson, you talk about maybe some inaccuracy issues. I think he's a better thrower of the football when his feet are planted, which is crazy because you talk about athletic quarterbacks, they're great off platform. Lamar Jackson's great when he's in the pocket, and so he's a running quarterback that's great in the pocket. Makes it a little difficult, right? We'll get him a big receiver. Definitely could see Metcalf there.
I love how they're showing. Well, now they're showing Fitzgerald. They were just showing a whole commercial one Metcalf, but.
Wow, that couldn't be any obvious of who's coming next.
I was just about to say, what if the Raiders take DK Metcalf and Antonio Brown?
Well, I think it's going to be the Ravens, but I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, what if they take Antonio Brown's cousin, Hollywood Brown?
Yeah.
Marquise.
Man.
That's a crazy locker room there. But I mean, don't get me wrong, he's talented enough for that to happen. This is why you watch the draft live because the reaction that we had, Titus Howard. We like him. He's a good player.
Right.
But he's not a guy we expected in the first round. So that blew us away. That was a reach. Yeah, we never graded that pick.
What pick?
The Titus Howard pick.
Oh, shocking. I mean,
that was a reach.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to the Titus Howard pick by
the Texans.
Excuse me. I just think it was way early for him. I had him going the end of the second, early third. But, again, teams like who they like. They have their reasons. Hopefully it works out. But, with this Oakland pick, I could see Metcalf or Hollywood Brown going. I could see maybe Byron Murphy go alongside Gary and Conley, who they recently drafted. I could see them going Josh Jacobs because Lynch is gone. They don't really have anybody else. I had them taking Josh Jacobs in my mock, so that was kind of where I'm leaning. But it's been a crazy draft. It really, it's been getting crazier as the late rounds come about.
I was like, they drafted Clelin Ferrell again. No,
they're just replaying it.
Yeah, not to be.
Yeah, so
we've seen some quote unquote reaches. When you're looking at the consensus mocks, and it kind of goes to show never stop doing your mock drafts, but never assume that when you see a mock draft out there, oh, he's really well respected, this is it. It's not always the case.
Right. There has never in the history of time been a completely accurate mock draft. I'm confident.
Just like an NCAA bracket.
Never.
It's one of those things you can't predict. It's
right.
Too,
and I love doing them. Don't get me wrong. I love doing mock drafts. You
Yeah.
and I have talked extensively. I mean, we've interviewed 121 guys, and I'm always trying to put them in my drafts because I like them. But you can never get it right. I mean, you can. And we were 3 for 3 to start it off, and that's rare. I mean, and look at us now. I mean, we'd have to go back and.
Yeah, I'm not tallying up the ones I got, but I could probably count them on fingers. So there's that. Yeah, this has to be Joshua Jacobs, unless they another running back more that we don't know about. Maybe a David Montgomery. Maybe Darrell Henderson. I think Darrell Henderson is the best running back in this draft, and no one's talking about him. But I don't think that the NFL thinks he is, and so I think he's going to go round 2 or round 3.
Yeah, I think it's Josh Jacobs. I won't be shocked if it's someone like a Metcalf or a Hollywood Brown or a Byron Murphy. There has not been a corner or receiver taken, and we are on pick 24. How does this happen? It's wild. I mean, it's
in a passing league.
So
you're not taking a defensive guy against that, and you're not that's crazy.
I think it just goes to show how the league is changing. They say that Aaron Donald changed the game.
Well, he did.
He did. I mean, people, edge rushers and interior defensive linemen are at a premium. I mean, here's the Raiders selection right now. Pick 24 overall. Josh Jacobs.
Well, there we go. Got that.
Got it. Nailed it. Yeah, not shocked. He's going to be the only running back to go this round. This is who I had them taking.
I don't know, Seattle. They love drafting running backs that they don't need.
Yeah. Okay, so now we got Baltimore. Oh, well, let's talk a little bit about Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Josh is the best running back in this draft. There's no other running back I think that's going to go this round. I think for a reason. He played well at Alabama. He separated himself from all the other running backs because of his talent. It's obvious. He's a prototypical running back. I think he can do a little bit of everything. I don't think that there's many weaknesses to his game. The only thing that people really complained about with him is that he didn't run at the combine, and when he ran at his pro day, he didn't run that well.
Yeah, and people complain about like the lack of, playing time.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, I'd say he led the team in rushing touchdowns.
Right.
So, with Najee Harris,
Mm-hmm.
with Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
He 11 touchdowns last year for the
So-
Crimson Tide. So I think, obviously it's not he's not like the Todd Gurley type of guy. He, not the 4.4 speed with the 6'2" frame. A lot of these running backs are a little smaller. Obviously, he's more bulky, but shorter.
Yeah.
But I think this is definitely a starting running back in the NFL. I think
for
he's
sure.
definitely going to be somebody when you're talking about, say, dynasty fantasy leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be somebody that goes early on. Gruden likes to run the football, so
yeah, definitely. He's it's a good pick for the Raiders. They needed it. Marshawn Lynch is gone. They didn't really have anyone to fill in for him. And now we get to look forward to the Baltimore pick. Baltimore traded back.
They did.
I had them taking AJ Brown, but now I think they'll take DK Metcalf because he's on the board. So no receivers gone, no corners gone. I'm trying to think off the top of my head of the corners that the Ravens have. I mean, they could take a corner. I think I'm trying to think. If Byron Murphy or like a Greedy Williams is a good call there, but I think it's going to be DK Metcalf. I'll tell you what, if it's not, it will be in the pick after them in Indy. So DK Metcalf's either going now.
Andrew Luck will be doing backflips.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll tell him not to because they don't want him to get hurt.
Right. I mean, I had Baltimore, like I said, taking AJ Brown. I had N'Keal Harry going to Indianapolis. So Baltimore's on the clock. They got about 5 minutes, 20 seconds left, and yeah.
Yeah, I think this is. This has to be Metcalf, and I know we've said this. We've said this a lot. This has to be this guy. This has to be this guy. Byron Murphy still hasn't gone. DK Metcalf still hasn't gone. One sleeper to go in the first round, I thought, was obviously I've mentioned Hollywood Brown. I don't have him that high on board, but I know people love him. But it's Hakeem Butler I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Closest thing I've seen, and I hate making this comparison, but I think he's very similar to Calvin Johnson. He has that potential.
Mm-hmm.
I had two guys that had generational talent grades when I did my receivers, and it was DK Metcalf, and it was Hakeem Butler.
Yep.
And the thing with Butler, he has more potential than any receiver I've seen in this. Like seriously, this is somebody he still has those concentration drops.
Right.
And just what he does in the open field, he's so much like Calvin Johnson running the football. Ran at 4.4. He's 6'5". Breaks tackles. I mean, he looks like how Jacobs runs the football. But he's a receiver and he runs like that. So,
well, I think,
he's definitely. It's gonna be hard. Obviously, we haven't seen a receiver, but he's a sleeper. Later on, maybe New England takes him. That would be terrifying.
That's actually I thought about playing Hakeem Butler. Hakeem Butler, I remember very fondly. I was in Chicago. I was watching the Northwestern versus Iowa State game with my grandpa. My grandpa lives in Chicago and watches a lot of Northwestern games. And I had never watched an Iowa State game or really a Northwestern at the time. And two people stood out to me that game. I kind of thought Northwestern's quarterback was cool and it was kind of flashy, and that was Clayton Thorson. And then I was
who will be drafted.
And then I said, who is this receiver for Iowa State? Because it was weird because he made a couple big plays, but they didn't say his name. And I was like, tell me his name.
They don't want to tell you his name.
They don't want to tell you.
They're like, he's destroying Northwestern.
It was Hakeem Butler.
Yeah.
And so I have a very soft spot in my heart for Hakeem Butler because I remember that very fondly. And this was, I believe it was 2 years ago. It was before last year's draft. So, I like Hakeem Butler, but I think that this is going to be DK Metcalf here.
if it's not DK Metcalf, I wonder if they just have another guy rated higher on that receiver board,
Right.
or they go and they like, you know what, we have Marlon Humphrey. Why don't we go out and we'll grab? Well, they also have what's his face, the Jimmy Smith, another talented cornerback.
Oh.
The Ravens. So a veteran guy there, but could they go Byron Murphy? That I don't know.
I think they're going to go Metcalf because think of Lamar Jackson and DK Metcalf.
Well, I think they absolutely should go receiver.
Yeah,
this
they got to
is
go
a gift.
receiver.
This is a gift from God.
Yeah, Baltimore Ravens have been blessed with DK Metcalf at 25. But yet again, we've been saying that for every team.
Yeah, and DK
Metcalf.
No one's
taking. It's a gift. But I do say if the Ravens don't take him, the Colts will take him at 26. So, I mean, he's going to go within these next two, unless there's just another receiver that for whatever reason they like more. Because maybe teams really were scared by his 3-cone drill that he didn't do well at. Maybe that threw him off, but it shouldn't.
Drill. I can't.
Yeah, pick is in though for the Ravens, so that's going to come up here in a few minutes, and then we've got Indy, then we've got Oakland. Assuming there's no trades, we got the Chargers, back-to-back picks for Seattle, then the Rams, then New England.
There's no way the Rams keep their pick. The way this draft is going, there's going to be a team. Think about this. Drew Lock still hasn't gone. What was the best case scenario for the Los Angeles Rams? I'll tell you. Having one of those quarterbacks fall to their spot. Not to take them, guys. They fall their spot. Fifth-year option. Becomes very valuable. We saw it with Lamar Jackson last year. The Ravens, who are on the clock right now, traded up to get Lamar Jackson at 32. So they trade back in. We've seen it before. The Vikings trade back into the draft. Got Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
So if that were to happen, that's the best case scenario for you Rams fans that are watching.
Or Dalton Risner. Here's what I'll say. If Dalton Risner is there at 31, I'm gonna punch the TV if they don't take him. If they take someone else, or they need to trade back.
Here's the thing. I do get the trade back.
I
really
would
do.
prefer them to trade back.
I mean,
I prefer the trade back. I think that because we don't have a second round pick, trade into the early second round and also pick up maybe a second, a fourth, and a sixth. Or maybe like a second, fourth, and a seventh. No, I'd say for a second, fourth, and a sixth. Or maybe a second and a fourth and a next year's third. Or something like that. Pick up more picks. Here's the Ravens selection.
Marquise Brown. So I told you that you could see a guy that's rated higher than other people. I mean, he's my 11th receiver, I believe, on my board.
He's so emotional. It makes me want to cry. He's like so, and this is Antonio Brown's cousin.
Yeah.
So maybe he was hoping that the Raiders would take him so he could play with him.
I think he's just happy.
I think he's happy. I'm like mind blown.
Look at Cody Ford's all in there. Like all those guys got drafted and he's celebrating with them.
I'm literally like, you can probably tell by the expression on my face, shocked that this was not DK Metcalf.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Cody Ford's there for the Rams. Or Jawan Taylor. Those aren't guys that the Rams even expected to fall.
I think
Indy has to take Metcalf. This has to be the run on receivers now.
Yeah, if this next pick isn't Metcalf, I will renounce everything I know about this game. I mean, or I had them taking N'Keal Harry. Because I could see maybe why some people prefer Harry.
We saw it. Marquise Brown is the first receiver off the board.
And again, I think that DK Metcalf is a more talented receiver than Marquise Brown, but Marquise Brown is a particular style of receiver that I could see why some teams might want him more than a Metcalf. I mean, he's extremely fast. I mean, he's so fast. And Metcalf, again, Metcalf ran fast, but then there's concerns about his agility and all that, so which I think are unwarranted, but that's how people feel. So he's got
to put on some weight though. 165 pounds. I mean,
Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
That's
not even. Tavon Austin had 181 on his belt.
He's gonna go into the Ravens. After they draft him, he's gonna meet and they're gonna be like, bro,
you gotta beef up there, buddy.
Pump some iron.
Yeah.
Eat carbs. I mean, you can't. You're gonna get hit way harder than you've ever gotten hit in your life in the NFL, and you're gonna get hurt if you don't build muscle. So
I agree.
That's kind of the only the knock on Marquise Brown. I think is he's a little small, but he can work on it. He can gain weight.
Yeah.
But again, they picked him for his.
He's a better route runner than just like people are just associating him to being like John Ross, but I don't think that's fair.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
he didn't grade in my top 10 just because I found other guys. Like, I really like Keelan Doss out of UC Davis. I think people are sleeping on him. Antoine Wesley out of Texas Tech, another guy. A guy that we've interviewed, Anthony Ratliff-Williams out of UNC. And then, of course, Penny Hart, somebody I saw just absolutely dominate at the Senior Bowl from
Right.
Georgia State. Same college that Albert Wilson went to. And now there's a trade and the Redskins are on the clock.
Metcalf. I'm telling you, it's
So
Metcalf.
they that is
Every time there's a pick, I'm like, trust me, it's
What-
Metcalf.
what if they draft just to get Haskins guy Paris Campbell?
No. No, I think
the
it's Metcalf.
run on speed
You know
receivers.
Why? Yeah, you know why I think it's Metcalf? I think because they knew Indy wanted Metcalf. So,
Well,
they traded
Indy
with
just,
Indy.
what did I tell you about Ballard?
Sorry, that's yeah.
Ballard loves trading down.
I think because Oakland could have possibly taken
this
Metcalf.
is a good move for Indy
Yeah,
because they
no,
just
it's
keep
good.
racking up the picks.
Mhm.
We don't know what they got, but I can tell you right now, Washington wasn't. They weren't in the first round anymore. They had already made their pick. So that's interesting comparison
Interesting.
there. But
I want to do a quick shout out.
Go
real
right
quick.
ahead.
My other grandfather just joined and is watching. My Papa Don is watching.
shout out to Papa Don.
The one who lives in Chicago. So shout out to him. Both of my grandfathers are now watching. So earlier I shouted out my other grandfather.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's 11:08, so you guys
Yeah.
are awesome.
Yeah,
Like 11:08 Eastern time.
Yeah, it's 10:08 where they are,
10:08,
yeah.
But that's still late. That's
it is
still
late. It is late. But no, so Redskins have just traded up. They traded with Indianapolis. I keep saying it. It's got to be Metcalf. I mean, I keep thinking it's Metcalf. Maybe I need to drill it into my head that for whatever reason it's not happening. Who knows? What do you think?
I don't even know what to think. I mean, this draft has been so unpredictable. You talk about the fact that Metcalf's still there, but Cody Ford, somebody that people had going early on, Dalton Reisner, I think this is kind of around where he would go. I don't think Washington would do that. They have guys like Brandon Scherf they drafted. They obviously have Trent Williams. So, I mean, I think this has to be. You don't trade back into the first round unless you're getting a impact player, a player that's going to change, the way you do things. They lost Jamison Crowder. Crowder was kind of their guy, over the middle. I could see them absolutely reaching on Paris Campbell because they did draft Haskins, and that was his teammate. But if they go Ohio State receiver, Terry McLaurin would be who I would take over Paris Campbell. However, Metcalf, generational talent, like I keep saying.
Yeah, well, it's
Hakeem Butler. Maybe they like Butler more. I think really I had those guys neck and neck. Metcalf edged out Hakeem Butler because Hakeem Butler's still with the concentration drops.
Right.
I don't worry about Metcalf dropping a football.
Right.
He has mitts. Like, he doesn't drop a football.
I'm literally getting anxiety about this pick because if it's not Metcalf,
you don't want him to go to the. I mean, what do you do if you're the Los Angeles Rams or the New England Patriots? I mean, you were just in the Super Bowl.
Well,
do you just take? I mean, he has to be the best player on your board.
The Rams won't. I'm pretty confident the Rams wouldn't.
They would have to shop like Brandon Cooks
they
or
would
somebody.
shop somebody, and I don't think.
Sometimes the way things go, though, you kind of have to.
Well,
if Metcalf is say the Rams board or the Patriots board, Metcalf is number 2 on their board. Just say for the hell of it, he has to be the pick. You have to go by your board. It may not seem the right thing to do, but you can always trade.
mm-hmm.
But another thing that we keep talking about, Josh Rosen, he still hasn't been traded. Is he gonna get traded tonight? Who knows? There's still time.
The only team that I could see.
I mean, it would definitely be New England could, but
New England could. Chargers possibly could.
if New England did that, they would be saying, "Okay, Tom Brady, this is your last year. You're retiring after this year. No ifs, ands, or buts." And I don't see that.
I see the Chargers doing that before. But real quick, another reason again to not say that this is for sure DK Metcalf is, that if the Raiders would be very interested in him if he's still there. They pick after this. So maybe that's why the Redskins jumped ahead of him, because they want, again, the Redskins are building that offense. They've got Dwayne Haskins now. Darius Geis is healthy. They also have Adrian Peterson. Now they could add in a guy like DK Metcalf.
Yeah, they really
So,
they could.
so it's interesting. I mean, to trade up, it's got to be somebody, obviously very talented, or someone that they want. It could be a corner. Again, like when they were up, we kind of questioned that because the only really true starting corner they have is Josh Norman. So it could be a guy like Byron Murphy or Greedy Williams. Because again, a corner has not gone. We waited so long for a receiver. Receiver finally went at pick 24, I believe. Now it's pick 26, and a corner still has not gone, which is funny because this is a very saturated draft of corners, but I think it's later round corners. I think it's guys, developmental corners. There's only a few starting caliber corners in this draft, so I'm shocked that it's now at pick 26 and we haven't seen a corner taken. And so, okay, so because the Redskins traded with Indy for this 26th overall pick, Indy now gets the Redskins' second round pick. So now they'll have 3 second round picks, Indy, as well as a 2020
I think they're
second
trading
round
with
pick.
the Rams.
Indy?
I think Indy will go back into the draft because someone's gonna fall, and I think they'll trade with the Rams. Well, that's just what my mock draft said. I have the Rams taking Blake Cashman in the next round, so we'll see. We will see. I mean, he's the best linebacker available, but I don't see the Redskins going linebacker. This has to. Well, I'm not going to say it, but I think it is Metcalf.
Yeah, I think it's Metcalf. We're about to find out. Roger Goodell is at the podium. Montez Sweat.
Wow. And I kind of forgot he was still available.
Me too. With all
it's just so much chaos. Shame on the doctors though for misdiagnosing this guy. You know, I mean that I gotta say that because this guy now falls in the draft when people were talking about potentially going. I would just say that.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty shocked that Montez Sweat went this late. But again, like you said, I forgot that he was here because we're focusing on all these other intangibles, like all these. This is who should be getting taken. We're looking at positions. We're not looking at best player available because you could make the argument that Montez Sweat is better than DK Metcalf. I mean, I think Metcalf's probably more talented, but
yeah.
You could. The Redskins think that. I mean, the Redskins just traded up for Montez Sweat.
They did, and they gave up a premium to get him. So we will definitely see. But so up next is going to be Oakland picking at 27. So.
Well, Oakland, who knows? I forget who I even had them taking in my drafts, but I think that they're gonna take maybe. Well, no wait. Dare I say they're gonna take DK Metcalf? I'm gonna keep saying it till it happens.
You're speaking into existence because you
it
don't
into
want him on the
existence.
board when the Rams pick.
Well, I mean, if the Rams took him, I would just be like, we got to get rid of
someone.
I could see getting rid of Cup.
You have Sean McVay make it work with 4 of that would be the greatest receiver group ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think it'll happen if he's. I
don't think it's very realistic.
No, it's not realistic.
But if anyone could scheme that, it'd be Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Raiders are up, and I think that they could go. So far they picked Clelin Ferrell and they picked Josh Jacobs. So now they could go maybe like an Irv Smith. They could go DK Metcalf or another receiver like N'Keal Harry.
Hakeem Butler.
Hakeem
Butler.
Could
go tackle. They drafted Colton Miller. They traded up to get him last year, and I'm not really a Colton Miller fan. I doubt they're pulling the plug on him, but interesting tidbit here. Mike Mayock wasn't there last year.
Yeah.
So if Mike Mayock came in and said, no, I'm putting my foot down. I hated that pick when I was an analyst. That is not where we're going. We got to get either Jawan Taylor or Cody Ford here. Could also see that.
I could, but
or even Jonathan Abram.
I think knowing Mayock, I think they're going to take Metcalf. You now have the
Adderley's still there, by the way.
Adderley. But they just got Joyner and they've got
They did. But Carl Joseph as well.
Yeah, but
they're kind of the same player though. And
you now have the chance, if you're the Raiders,
yeah.
to have Josh Jacobs and DK Metcalf on your team.
Well, you have the chance to have DK
Antonio
Metcalf
Brown.
and Antonio Brown.
Right.
And
It's got, and I keep saying it every time. I'm like, it makes so much sense to pick Metcalf.
Yeah.
Metcalf is going to be the biggest story of this draft, one of them, because he has fallen to, if this is the pick, maybe even lower, but pick 27.
In Arizona, they're pounding the table to have him fall into their lap. Imagine getting Kyler Murray
and DK
Metcalf. And regardless if Metcalf is the guy, Arizona's going to have a really good pick at third. I mean, we're talking about these guys. Ja'Kai Polite is somebody that hasn't gone yet. And people are very skeptical about him going, but I do think the Rams could pull the trigger if he is there at 31 and if they can't get a trade down. Another guy, obviously we keep talking about Cody Ford, Juwan Taylor, the top receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking very interesting. Will Irv Smith sneak his way in the first round? The way this is looking, I don't see it.
Only by the Patriots.
Could.
If the Patriots go that route.
Yeah, and then there's other guys, Abram, Thornhill, dark horses to go.
Teams who pick early in the second are thrilled with how this is going because a lot of talent is dropping.
Yeah.
So pick is in.
If I'm the Rams, the Patriots, and especially if I'm Seattle, I'm trading down.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Seattle covets that 5th-year option I keep throwing out there. I mean, it's a big deal. They have back-to-back picks before their division rival. So they would love to stick it to them by picking probably, some help for Russell Wilson. So they go and get Eric McCoy, who's probably on the Rams' radar, and they get Dalton Reister, so they get a center and a guard.
They could do that. Well, here's the Raiders' pick. Jonathan Abram.
I did mention that.
But that's shocking because of the best safety in this draft.
You talk about a Gruden grinder. Doesn't he look like a Gruden grinder to you?
And he's very talented, but
No, but I mean, he's that, like, he just is a maniac.
Right.
He's going to tear your head off.
He is a typical Raider. He makes sense for the Raiders.
Yeah.
But Nasir Adderley's still on the board. Who would have thought that Savage and Abram would go before Adderley? But yet again, I mean, teams like who they like.
Yeah.
They have their reasons. They might not ever say the reasons, but maybe it's just a vibe. They talk to these guys and they're like, no, I feel more comfortable with Abram, or I feel a good connection with him. But it is very shocking that Nasir Adderley is still on this board when 2 safeties have been taken. But see, now you've got the Los Angeles Chargers coming up. I had the Chargers taking, I think, Greg Little. No, it's going to be Juwan Taylor. Or maybe they just take DK Metcalf because no one has yet. But I think it's going to be Juwan Taylor.
Well, So, I got to say, with this pick, with the Chargers, not Chargers, the Raiders, you mentioned Joyner. And that was when I said Jonathan Abram. I'm like, yeah, but, they have Carl Joseph as well. They kind of all have this. They're all the same player. Joyner hits people. Carl Joseph hits people.
Right.
And now you're getting, Abram.
I wonder if you move one of them to like a outside
like a money
line.
backer.
Yeah, like money backer, like maybe just like maybe an outside line.
That's gonna be interesting for sure.
They're gonna work it. I mean, they're all very talented. They're gonna work it in Oakland.
They're gonna work it in Oakland.
They're on a roll.
Like they're definitely making some picks out there.
Mayock is doing us all proud. He's going in there and spicing it up. And
I'm happy for Mayock.
Yeah, me too. I think
he's a great story.
He is, and we grew up watching him and as an analyst, and
we miss him because he was amazing
so
at the combine and knows his stuff and the funny things he says at the obviously. But this isn't a gush session. This is an interesting pick.
Yeah.
With the Joyner signing, it makes it a little. I just think they wanted 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming a 3-safety league, and it's really why I wouldn't rule out the Rams going safety here. I know people would, quickly stop me and say, look, they got Eric Weddle. They have John Johnson III. But, if I'm the Rams and Nasir Adderley's top on my board or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, why not pull the trigger? If you can't find a team to trade down, and I'd imagine you can, because there's so much talent left available in the first round with that 5th-year option. And Arizona and Indy and Oakland, they pick back-to-back in round 2. All of them will be looking at receiver now.
Well, what's interesting right here is there's 5 minutes left on the clock for the Chargers. Are they possibly giving a call to the Cardinals right now and inquiring about Josh Rosen. Is it a
Or
possibility?
are they possibly going to draft Drew Lock?
Yeah, that's another. I have seen that as
he's not going. If he doesn't go here, he doesn't go until New England. He's going to be there when the Rams pick. And if that's the case, the Rams are going to have a really good trade partner.
Yeah. Well, I think the Chargers take either Juwan Taylor or Drew Lock right here, or they trade the pick to the Cardinals. You know, the Cardinals will not keep Josh Rosen and Kyler Murray.
I will say
it's a slap in the face to Josh Rosen. They know it. They're going to get rid of Josh. They're going to at least do that for him. I'm surprised maybe they tried to get a first and haven't been able to. They'll get a second for him. Maybe by a team. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head who was a couple seconds. But, you know, it's interesting. I would maybe say Drew Lock goes here. He kind of reminds him and Phillip Rivers aren't that
They did lose Tyrell Williams, though. And he got paid.
True.
He went and got paid. So I could definitely see the Chargers pulling the trigger on Metcalf. Mm-hmm. He really shouldn't be there.
It's absurd. And it's absurd that a corner has not gone. We are now looking at a situation.
I don't know how the Rams don't. I mean, their pick is they're going to have an opportunity to select a guaranteed bona fide day one starter.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean,
you know.
But see, also think I see Seattle. So we're looking at the Chargers, and then I look at Seattle's back-to-back picks. And if Seattle keeps those back-to-back picks, I see them taking an offensive lineman and a corner. They desperately need secondary help, and they desperately need offensive line help. So then that leaves the Rams in New England, and then that's interesting, and you have to see what they do.
They're kind of the headline of the draft. I mean, really, they're the two teams that were in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to see what the Rams do with their pick.
Yeah.
You know, everyone wants to see what the Patriots do because are we finally going to just, you know, draft the successor to Tom Brady, even though we had that with Jimmy Garoppolo and drafted Jacoby Brissett?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they going to replace Gronk? Or, you know, what are they going to... They lost Trey Flowers, so they could delve into that. Danny Shelton's still a free agent. So, you know, they're not... I don't think they're going to go out and get a nose tackle because I would have said Dexter Lawrence.
Right. Well, the pick is in for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is gonna set the tone for how this draft finishes.
It is. Because if they don't pick Locke, it's going to be interesting.
Locke, it's going to be you're going to get trade offers going into Seattle, LA, and New England.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. I mean, they don't have to take them; they can keep their picks. But if this pick is not Drew Locke, then you're going to have chaos, which. I thrive on chaos, and I know Jake does too. We love it. It makes it interesting.
Yes,
you
it does.
Can never have things too predictable. But, you know, this is interesting. We could see what happens. We could see if Metcalf finally goes or if Drew Lock goes. Drew Lock, I think, would be happy maybe to be in LA, but I think that Drew Lock was expecting to be starting somewhere.
You know, Drew Lock definitely, this has got to be a bummer to him. Like, straight up. I mean, this is... But you got to look... If you're Drew Lock right now, go back and look at the timeline. Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Tom Brady. We talk about 6th round. Kurt Warner undrafted. You know, guys have... I mean, we talk about Brady Quinn as well. You know, going to the green room. That whole, you know, mess. And then, of course, the Browns draft him. We've seen guys drop. We've also seen Dan Marino drop. So we've seen all these quarterbacks drop in the draft. And, you know, at the end of the day, only you are going to, you know, be the reason... for your success.
Right.
And this could be a perfect fit because this is a team that was very close to a Super Bowl.
Well, and think of it, another thing is maybe if you're Drew Lock at this point, you want to fall to the second. Because you've got teams now in the second who could have gone quarterback and didn't.
It's almost better if you ball out as a non-fifth-year option guy because if you ball out, then they're going to need to pay you. And there's no set, like, you know... The 5th-year option could be like $8 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're getting. He could go out and make money, you know. If so, for Drew Lock, I guess you're right. You know, notable guys that have gone in the second round, of course. You know, just Deshaun Kaiser, but also Derek Carr recently. So, you know, those are definitely guys to keep in mind. But Drew Lock is definitely good enough to be selected in this, and it's Jerry Tillery.
Jerry Tillery, the Los Angeles Chargers. Well, I had Tillery going to New England, but Drew Lock has not been taken, and that is what should be, you know, not now. Well, let's talk about Jerry Tillery for a second.
Yeah.
Because Jerry Tillery is very strong. I think that's one of his. He's very strong. He's nasty. He gets in there. He throws guys to the ground. He's got a very high football IQ. But he has sometimes an inconsistent motor. Sometimes you kind
Yeah.
of wonder
Well,
what
if
he's
he
doing.
plays the way he did against Stanford, and I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone will agree, if you saw the Stanford tape,
Mm-hmm.
it's some of the best tape out there for an
Right.
interior defensive lineman, but
Yeah.
he doesn't always play like that. So,
Right.
like you said, inconsistent motor is my biggest issue with Tiller and why I had him as a second rounder.
Right.
This is a good pick, though, because Corey Liuget is obviously, I believe he's a free agent. They have Bosa, they have Melvin Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
You add Jerry Tillery in there, makes a lot of sense. And plus, he's going to have guys around him that help him. So that
Right.
he
Yeah.
doesn't have to come in there and be the guy, say like an Aaron Donald. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the good thing about this. And obviously, I'm sure Tillery would rather go late because the
Yeah.
Chargers, again, they lost to the Patriots in the playoffs, but
They're a
at
good
the end of
team.
the
It's
year,
good. Yeah.
they got some Super Bowl buzz going in. So
He should be very thrilled. If I was Jerry Tillery, I think he ended up in a good spot for him. So now you've got Seattle with back-to-back picks on the clock. Would not be shocked to see them trade one of these. They could go back and acquire more picks. I think that if they keep these, they're going to go corner and offensive line. I think those are their two biggest needs. But again, I'm going to say it again: the Metcalf option of
it's very intriguing.
You sign Russell Wilson, and if I'm Seattle right now, I'm curious. I'm wondering, hey, because you got Lockett and Baldwin, who are
they really like David Moore as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you're like, okay, you can keep them, but none of those guys are superstars and elite. They're good. They're starting quality. They get the job done, but they're not guys that other teams fear necessarily. DK Metcalf can be that guy, but again, it is pick 29 and a cornerback has not gone yet. None. Zero. That's insane. And also, yet again, I mentioned with Seattle.
This is a rare defensive interior line draft.
Yeah. I could see them taking somebody like...
defensive line draft with the edge, of course.
Right. Well, and then I'm trying to think. I could see them going like a Nasir Adderley. They lose Earl Thomas.
Yeah.
They could go maybe tight end.
They do. They have some safeties out there. Obviously they have Bradley McDougald, who they got really good play out of.
Mm-hmm.
They have Tedrick Thompson, who they drafted from Colorado.
Right.
Colorado's been pumping guys in the NFL left and right. I mean, you talk about Chidobe, Awuzie,
Yep.
and Akello Weatherspoon.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely have something there.
Yeah.
Do you want to go like the sexy route and go with a Nasir Adderley or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or a Taylor Rapp or a Juan Thornhill? That's the question. And Seattle is close to Washington. They saw a lot of Taylor Rapp. Wouldn't be surprised if Taylor Rapp went here, but I don't think he's going to. But I think that's a name to watch. They did like him throughout the process, from what I was seeing and everything. Really, I'm going to be completely full disclosure. I believe that they are selecting Eric McCoy, and they're going to select Dalton Reisner. I think that they're going to go back to back. It makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Or they're going to take Justin Lane, who fits their build at cornerback.
Right. Well, I really think. Now you could be right. If I were Seattle, I would take at least one corner.
You really should.
They need to. It is a gift that
Yeah.
no corner has been taken.
And these are some.
They
good
could
corners.
even really get away with taking Murphy and Williams, and really, I mean, at that point,
They do have Shaq Griffin.
They have
though.
Shaq Griffin, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not as big on Shaq as a lot of people are. I don't know if he's necessarily starting quality. I mean, I think he does well.
Yeah, and they have Trey Flower. They have a different Trey Flowers, I believe.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I think that they should take a corner and an offensive lineman, or I think they should trade it. Why not get picks? Like I said, Locke is still there. You can see, we know that there's teams calling them, so you could see that happening. But
the Rams
it
fan in me
depends.
is hoping that Locke is there for the Rams, so the market opens up. They can kind of push the envelope a little
for
bit and be
sure.
like, all right, you're
hope-
giving us that second round pick, and you're giving us a third, maybe.
Right. I mean, I also really want Reisner to be there for the Rams.
Well, that would be awesome.
Could you imagine our reaction? People would be scared.
Well,
If we take Dalton Reisner,
yeah.
I call him right now. I'm like, hey.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be huge. That'd be huge for the brand. That'd be huge for the podcast. That would be huge. It's yeah, I'm really worried about Seattle taking him.
I'm worried.
But I mean, think about it. I want him in the first round.
Think of it
honestly,
this way. Here's something about Seattle that we forgot to mention. Frank Clark's gone.
that is true. Well, that's why I think they could go Ja'Kai Polite.
They could go, and that's who I have them taking.
Because I love Ja'Kai Polite. I think he makes a ton of sense for the Rams.
Yep, I think he does too.
But Seattle probably knows that.
Seattle knows that could be another reason they did that back to. I have them taking Ja'Kai Polite.
Remember what we thought? Steelers, Bengals, that
it's
dynamic.
All about screwing over your competition.
You have to.
You have to. I mean,
you win twice.
Yeah, you win twice. It's who you compete against. It's who controls if you make it to the playoffs or not. If you're better than every team in your division, even if your record's not that great, as long as you're better than the team in your division, you're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Seattle right now, definitely. I mean, there's a minute left on this clock, and they have not. I mean, there's a guy on the phone. We're looking.
They're trying to trade the pick. I think.
I think they're trying to.
Or they're trying to trade the next pick, probably.
Or the next one, but they haven't phoned in their pick yet for number 29. I would go Byron Murphy or Ja'Kai Polite. I have them taking Ja'Kai Polite in my mock. That's running, or that's not mine right now at the bottom of the screen, but in mine I have them taking Ja'Kai Polite.
And yes, we did figure out a way to loop it because it kept stopping, and we've had issues with it, but it's good now, and I'm pretty hyped.
Yeah. So 26 seconds on the clock, and there's no picking. That's cutting it a little. Like, I get building the suspense, trying to find a trade, but that's a little close.
They probably already sent it in, and maybe it's just a graphic issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. There's 10 seconds on the clock. I mean, they're not going to forfeit their pick. So,
this is like me when
it's got to be in.
I mean, it has to be in, but I mean, they ran out of time according to the graphic. Can that please happen? That would be so funny.
I would love for them to lose their pick.
But we have to report from
from a non-biased standpoint.
Yeah, a non-biased standpoint.
As we speak with our Rams downtown Rams poster in the background. No, I'm sure it's in, and that there's a graphics issue with the clock.
Apparently.
Or it's been traded and they haven't phoned that in the graphic yet.
Trust me, we've had graphics issues this whole. Well, I won't say this whole. I think it's been pretty good. It's just really been the ticker.
It's been the sound.
The sound in the
we've
ticker.
We've had some sound, and the ticker has stopped.
Yeah.
But we get it. Things happen, and they're talking on TV as if nothing unusual is happening. So I'm assuming that the pick is in.
They're probably being told in their in-ear monitors.
Right. So
yeah.
Seattle's interesting right now. They got rid of Frank Clark, so Ja'Kai Polite makes a lot of sense. But so does a corner, and honestly, so does Eric McCoy.
Eric McCoy and Cody Ford still hasn't gone. There's so many guys that haven't gone.
What if Ford and Reisner and all these guys fall to the second? That's insane. That's these guys.
This is a deep draft, but it's a deep draft with
it's a strategic
with
draft.
with some overdrafting.
Yeah, there's some overdrafting.
Titus, Clellan Ferrell,
Abram.
Rashawn Gary was kind of around this. I've seen him go that early. I've seen him go as early as 9. So I wasn't totally surprised. Darnell Savage was getting a ton of buzz coming into this today. I mean, like today, you were seeing it all over Twitter. Darnell Savage could go as early as 25 or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm confused. Either there's a graphics issue, or Seattle ran out of time or something, because they've not updated that, and the clock has been off for a long time.
And now they're taking forever.
And they're talking, so we're unsure what's going on with Seattle right now, if the pick was traded, if they made it, or if they ran out of time.
I haven't seen anything like
I've
this
never
before,
seen I've never seen a team run out of time, so I really don't think it's that. It looks to be they haven't updated the graphic.
Maybe it's a fax issue.
Yeah, something, but while we're waiting for NFL Network to figure out what's going on, let's just talk about, we've been talking about Seattle for a really long time. Most of you watching are Rams fans. We are the Downtown Rams, that's most of our fan base. So the Rams, assuming they stay at 31. Assuming they stay there, because Jake and I have said earlier, but we both kind of think they should trade back, and we think they will. But assuming that they stay at 31,
I would take either Reisner, because Reisner can easily plug right into guard, and then you have a guy that's versatile. You talk about
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Cromer wanting to, cross train. So he's gonna. I mean, that's kind of easy, right? Dalton Reisner can play all 5 positions if he needs to, and so we talked to him. Obviously, high character, checks all the boxes for the Rams. We don't know if he had a private visit with them, but he had a workout. Per our guy Jordan Schultz, he did report that, and then he also met with at the Senior Bowl. So, and he had a great Senior Bowl as well. The Rams have drafted Cooper Kupp. They've drafted, guys like Gerald Everett, Josh Reynolds. They've drafted those guys from the Senior Bowl. Jamil Demby.
Right.
Guys like that.
Yeah.
So Reisner could be there, but I also think Nasir Adderley.
What about something crazy like not that
They probably didn't think Nasir Adderley was going to fall. They never met with him,
right?
but they actually had a Senior Bowl thing with him, and they probably. I mean, after the Senior Bowl, Nasir's stock was up to here, so the testing,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, the testing kind of threw him
Well,
back. I don't know.
I want to make so there has been no report on social media of Seattle's pick.
That's
So
bizarre.
they have not picked.
That's
The pick is not in. It has not been announced as a trade.
the
It is
NFL's
still-
probably waiting to suspend them or something.
Well, it is being reported that on NFL Network that they're still up, but the clock has run out, and there has been no trade. So either the pick is in, and there's something going on we're unaware of. It's not online either. It hasn't been reported. I'm not seeing anything about Seattle Seahawks pick. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, there's not, there's nothing.
I don't know if maybe Goodell or there's something going on at the draft right now that pick is in. Okay.
There we go. We just need a push there.
They must have there must have been something going on at the draft where they didn't want Goodell to come on. Sometimes they delay it. Maybe something going on. So they're gonna make that pick.
Yeah, we'll find that out.
And Seattle. Oh, you know what? Maybe because Seattle's back-to-back picks, they were doing the clock on both two on the clocks.
Oh, look at you! Now you're cooking with gas.
Yeah.
I just really, as obviously a fan of Dalton Reisner. As a Rams fan, I would not want Dalton Reisner to go here. I'd not want Nasir Adderley. Wouldn't want Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I honestly, McCoy. Here's the thing: the Rams can find interior presence. They can find those guys. Ross Pierschbaker. We interviewed him. He'll be there. I really like Nate Davis, another guy we interviewed from Charlotte, another Senior Bowl guy. Ross is the Senior Bowl guy. And then you talk about guys like Ben Powers, Drew Samia. So there are guys there for the interior. What I look at is now safety's really deep because we've had guys go that we weren't expecting. Will Harris is my third safety in this draft. I have Nasir as number 1. I have Chauncey as number 2. So.
Well, yeah, I don't want any of those guys going here.
Yeah,
not as an NFC West member.
The pick is in, so
the pick is in.
They're probably going to go back to back. I think.
I think they are, and I think it's going to be like an air. I think it's going to be Byron Murphy. There's no way that there's no corner.
Justin Lane. Justin Lane is.
It could be Justin Lane. I mean, I would assume though because Byron Murphy.
Remember when they drafted Frank Clark and everyone's like.
True.
Okay,
so let's just say this. We won't name names.
They could.
Corner.
They could. Well, you know what they could do?
Huh.
They could take another running back.
Oh, that would be very Seattle of them. No, but I think it's going to be a corner and an offensive lineman, or it's going to be a corner and an edge. Seattle has not had a productive or good defense since the Legion of Boom, which fell apart. No one's really there anymore.
They were getting there last year.
They were, but they could. Why not add on? Why not add like a Ja'Kai
Why
Polite?
not keep the band together?
Well, no.
They wanted to break everyone together. They wanted to break everyone up.
Right, but why not
They pissed off Earl Thomas.
That's true, but why not take back-to-back Ja'Kai Polite and then Byron Murphy?
When are we going to protect Russell Wilson?
Well, that's true. They could take like a Ja'Kai Polite and then an Eric McCoy.
This is the draft right here. This is very interesting.
Well, here we're Seattle Seahawks are making their selection. Roger Goodell is at this podium.
LJ Collier. Whoa. The Rams did meet with him. So that
yeah, LJ I had going at the end of the second.
that was one of the guys I could envision the Rams selecting in the 4th round.
Yeah,
he is great. He's great.
He is, and
he was really good at the Senior Bowl.
They're replacing Frank Clark.
Yeah, he kind of has that build.
He has that build. He's gonna fit right in, replacing Frank Clark. LJ is a guy who originally was not really looked at because he was a bit overshadowed by his teammate Ben.
Yeah, Banogu,
whatever, something like that. But he was overshadowed by Ben, and now
the Giants just traded up. It's Metcalf. It has to be Metcalf, right?
Yeah. If this
Giants
pick is not Metcalf, I'm leaving this studio right now.
Please don't.
No, I'm kidding.
This thing would be in the toilet.
It's got to be him or like an edge guy, maybe, or it's got to be Metcalf. I don't.
Giants select.
A corner still has not been taken. A cornerback has still not been taken.
What if they're taking Drew Lock?
Huh.
If they don't, Drew Lock's not getting drafted in the 1st round. If the Rams or the Patriots, the Rams don't trade it or the Patriots don't take him.
Okay, well, the Giants just traded for pick number 30 from Seattle. The Giants took DeAndre Baker.
Wow.
What is up with the Giants taking all of the guys that shouldn't be taken? Byron Murphy's there, so they take DeAndre Baker. Drew Lock and Haskins and every other quarterback except for Kyler Murray is there, and they take Daniel Jones.
37th overall, 132nd, 142nd to take DeAndre Baker.
It almost makes me sad. It really it's and I'm not.
He could end up being a superstar,
That's true. Let's talk about DeAndre Baker for a second. He is a classic press corner. Okay, he's very consistent. He's a safe pick. He is. He's not. I won't say he's elite like a Byron Murphy or Greedy Williams, but he is one of the faster cornerbacks in the draft, and he's very consistent. So from the Giants' point of view, they're probably he's the safest corner because they're probably having bad flashbacks from Eli Apple when they took him out of Ohio State. So I think that they are now replacing Eli Apple.
And the Rams, with Les Snead's connection, they have traded down with the Atlanta Falcons, and I love it. I don't even need to know it. Unfortunately, Dalton Reisner could go here.
Well, they took Lindstrom.
They did take Lindstrom, but they could go power for power.
Okay, so let's just.
But let's talk about DeAndre Baker a little bit. Obviously, the Giants now they take Baker. They took Dexter Lawrence. They're taking guys that fit Betcher's scheme. Now, I'm not saying he's the best guy available, but I do see the tenacity. I see the physicality. I actually rated him higher than Greedy Williams. I like DeAndre Baker. I just don't love him. I think he's more of a 45th pick. Guys that are middle of the 2nd round. They compared him to Tre'Davious White just on the screen. I think that's a good comparison. You still have that kind of grittiness. He's somebody that is going to take away the football, as we're kind of seeing here. And he wants to tackle, and that's something that Greedy doesn't like to do.
Yeah, Greedy's a soft tackler. DeAndre Baker, like I said, he's a press corner. He's very consistent, but he will hit people. He's
a dog.
It's a good pick. I had him going 25th to Philadelphia. It is a little bit shocking that they take him over like a Byron Murphy or Greedy Williams. But I don't hate it. I just think I would have rather them taken DK Metcalf or Byron Murphy. But you know what? Atlanta. Okay, so let's touch on this. The Rams did trade down. We haven't seen what they got in return yet.
And
from
they
Atlanta.
trade down. Let's see, Arizona in so.
It's 14.
It is 14. Okay.
13, yeah.
That's
It's not bad. I would have rather them trade with someone higher.
I liked the Indy trade, but Indy probably didn't want to trade back in. It's hard to target anybody there. Jacksonville kind of feels like they're in the driver's seat probably to take, somebody like a Drew Lock. So maybe they didn't feel inclined to trade up. Cincinnati is going to get either Drew Lock or they could try and get Will Greer. Somebody that's probably higher. Where's Denver? Denver has.
They might need to trade up.
They have Jacksonville in front of them and Tampa Bay.
I don't think Jacksonville's.
Wow. The Rams got another third round pick. This is the well, they traded away a 6th rounder, and I'm okay with that.
That's fine. But we get a second and a third. I
yes.
mean, and I like the second. I still wish it was a bit of a higher second. I'm not going to lie. I think 14 is a little late. I mean, you could get a good talent.
This is right in Team DTR territory.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
Colin
so now
Saunders, anybody?
Yeah, Blake Cashman. But let's see really quickly. They're about to announce the Falcons pick. The Falcons traded with the Rams. Let's see who they picked up.
Wonder if they got Metcalf. That'd be crazy. Julio and Metcalf.
And Ridley.
Caleb McGarry. They traded up to get Caleb McGarry.
Okay. You know what?
Caleb McGarry is the Colton Miller of this draft. Yeah, I get the upside. I do. He's literally Colton Miller, 6'7", but he's very raw as a pass pro.
Juwan Taylor, Cody Ford, Dalton Reisner, even Greg Little.
Yeah. And he only played right tackle.
Eric McCoy. But you were right. They took Lindstrom and now they're taking McGarry.
Yeah. I felt like Reisner made too much sense for them. If you were going to go back-to-back offensive linemen, Reisner makes a lot of sense. This is more, again, this scares me if I'm the Falcons fans out there. This scares me because this is so much like Colton Miller last year. And we were just talking about how the Raiders might want to replace him. Very, very raw in pass pro. And that's my issue with Caleb McGarry, is you might be getting a mauler, but we've gotten that before. The Rams, they drafted Greg Robinson. How'd that turn out? The Giants, they drafted Eric Flowers. So we see, this pattern with tackles that are run maulers, but they're, very limited in pass pro. And sometimes, we get it raw. It sounds interesting, right?
Right.
Raw in the first round, trading up. You gave up a 3rd round pick and a 2nd to move up and take Caleb McGarry. I don't think the Patriots were taking him.
Nope. And here's
but there's the 5th round, 5th year option. So
exactly. And now the Patriots are on the clock. They got about 5 minutes left. And what's interesting about this is, do they take a tackle here? Do they take a defensive lineman? I had them taking Jerry Tillery, but now that Jerry Tillery's gone, there's not many interior defensive linemen left that were really projected. I mean, they could take a Colin Saunders, maybe. They could, you look at who's left.
Doesn't Rocky Sin sound like a Patriot?
No,
he's the most he's the safest cornerback in the draft.
We've been waiting for it. DK Metcalf. They're giving Tom Brady a weapon.
I really, it makes so much sense, right? But the Patriots never do what you're expecting them to do. Well, they take Dominic Easley's. They take Malcolm Brown.
Irv Smith.
They take, Irv Smith is definitely, they like that Alabama connection.
I'm just trying to think of who's on the board. You've got every corner.
Just taking a shot in the dark,
Byron Murphy.
It's something that I wouldn't love them to do, but I could totally see them doing. Draymond Jones. It just doesn't. It just seems like a Patriot thing to do.
Well, no, that it does. I mean, a defensive line is kind of where I felt like they were going to go.
Yeah.
Draymond.
Or they'll trade down like they always do.
They could trade down right now. I'm sure. Drew Lock is still there. Now, if I'm Drew Lock, if I'm not going to start, this is the only team I want to go to. If I'm not going to be an immediate starter in the NFL, the Patriots are the only team that I want to sit on the bench for, and it makes sense. I mean, it makes
they got to be on the phone right now.
They're on the phone.
You were at 32. You had a chance to wait. All the things come to you, and
they already have 2 second-round picks. Why not pick up another? Or do they look at Drew Lock, who they probably never expected to be there?
Yeah.
You've got the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's probably only got about 2 years left in him. Maybe 3, but you can't bank on that. Maybe even 1. If they win again. So then you look at Drew Lock and you're like, okay, we gave up Garoppolo. We gave up Brissett. Do we pass on Drew Lock?
Yeah. They added Michael Bennett this year.
I forgot they added Demaryius Thomas.
That was interesting. Added Demaryius Thomas, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. So maybe they look more towards the Trayvon Wescos in this draft at tight end. Guys that complement, Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Yeah.
Imagine him with Tom Brady. I mean, that's a good fit for him. They lose Malcolm Brown, they lose Trey Flowers, they lose Trent Brown, and they still haven't signed Danny Shelton yet. And that's the door's open from what I keep reading. So he is not, he hasn't been told he's out of the door. Tight end Rob Gronkowski retires. So I'm kind of looking at this like, they definitely could go defensive interior lineman. This could be Colin Saunders. That's kind of the wild card here. It's a wild card guess.
That's what my original thought was.
But Rennell Wren as well. And we'd
Wren.
be really happy for Rennell. We'd Colin,
Colin.
anybody that came on our show that goes
both
at 32.
Both of them are my St. Louis boys, Rennell and Colin Saunders, both from St. Louis.
I wish we could hear this. Latest on DK Metcalf as latest on Drew Lock. Now I'm dying to hear this. Drew Lock was found. No, it's like what I mean. Why have these guys fought? DK Metcalf out of the first. People really must have taken that injury seriously. The injury history, the lack of production, and the 3-cone drill.
Well, the Patriots pick is in, and we're.
Wow, that guy is really loving his life right now. Most obscure Patriots pick possible that could happen here. I mean, Rocky Sin. It just sounds like Greg. Greg Little wouldn't be here. Oh my God! What if they got Blake Cashman?
Yeah,
He just. Oh no.
I don't think that's who it is.
Patriots fans, you'd be getting a stud.
Yeah.
He's the best linebacker in the draft, in my opinion.
They're gonna go.
Byron Murphy's also still somehow there.
They're gonna go DK Metcalf.
We didn't hear what they just said, so there's a chance.
I'm glancing at Twitter, most popular, and nothing has come out about DK Metcalf that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Pick is in though for the Patriots. We're waiting now for Roger Goodell to come out. Here he comes. This is the last pick in the first round, guys.
This is huge, guys. This is the Super Bowl winning New England Patriots picking, and they're not trading this pick. This is bizarre.
This is someone they really want, or who fell. N'Keal Harry.
Wow. So they
did go receiver.
They went receiver, and they took Harry. And
well, see, here's the thing, though. You can make an argument about N'Keal and Metcalf. Now, I'll tell you what. I don't know if Harry is there. I think he is. I know Metcalf is there. And Metcalf has been sitting there all night, as has Drew Lock. And their names were not called. The reason that their names were not called, we don't know. It might have just been...
This draft's blown my mind.
Yeah, it
Metcalf, Lock,
Taylor, Reisner.
Byron, Taylor, right. Reisner.
Rocky Sin, Cody Ford, Ja'Kai Polite, which is not that surprising.
Just what we heard, yeah.
Just what we heard. Irv Smith was kind of borderline.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Julian Love.
Yeah.
Wow. Eric McCoy, Elgin. I'm not saying Elgin Jenkins was going to go, but he's definitely up there as one of the best interior offensive linemen left.
Well, let's talk a little bit about...
Who's left?
No, I was going to say a little bit about N'Keal Harry, because...
Yeah.
He, is a physical specimen. As is DK Metcalf. But, you got to look at maybe why they would take N'Keal Harry over DK Metcalf. We also don't know yet if there's a reason why DK Metcalf wasn't taken. We don't know that. It hasn't been reported, but he has been taken. N'Keal Harry will win most 1v1s. The argument, though, the concern about Harry is he'll win the 1v1, but then he'll go down. He won't get separation from anybody, but he didn't really test well. But that almost sounds like a guy who the Patriots can turn around.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Okay, so we made it. It's been almost 4 hours. We made it through the NFL draft. It was shocking. Some of it was predictable. Most of it was not. A lot of talented guys fell. A lot. Yeah. The beginning of the second round tomorrow is going to be crazy.
There should be trade-ups galore.
Trade-ups
all these
all
guys.
Over.
Oh, my God. And who looks like geniuses? Les Snead, Chris Ballard, everybody that traded out of the first round, because look at what fell into their lap.
And, being Rams-based. The Rams now pick. I think it's
45.
45.
Yeah, and they pick 45 and 79,
Yeah.
which that is
Perfect.
I mean, getting another third round pick.
Yeah.
I had them in my mock. I had them getting Blake Cashman. Trading down with the Colts, getting Blake Cashman, a fourth rounder, seventh rounder. I'll take this trade over that.
I, in one of my Twitter mocks, traded with, it wasn't Atlanta. Who did I trade with to take Cashman in the second? I don't remember. But Cashman's an option in the second.
Cashman is,
with all the offensive tackles that have fallen, Reisner could very well be there.
That's going to be a fall, though. And Green Bay picks right before the Rams, and they could use him. I want to kind of go through this. Arizona would love to get offensive line talent, obviously, for their new quarterback in Kyler Murray. But we haven't seen a quarterback. We haven't seen one of the quarterbacks that have been talked about. Derek Carr, Kyler Murray. We haven't seen any of them traded. We haven't seen a Jadeveon Clowney trade. Things that were rumored, Chris Harris Jr. So maybe those things arise in round 2. I wouldn't count on anything like that.
Rosen.
Well, yeah, Rosen.
Someone is trading their second round pick to Arizona for Josh Rosen. We just don't know who.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you think anybody else gets traded? Like any player, per se?
Well, I mean, it's always a possibility. I mean, not really that I can think of immediately off my head. I would have said Frank Clark, but he already got traded.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Harris, you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of talent that's going to fall at the beginning of that second round. There's going to be a lot of trade-ups, maybe even some trade-downs if someone already picked in the first. I don't know. It's been interesting, but we won't say too much about it because we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll talk about it before the draft then. Tomorrow we'll be here for rounds 2 and 3.
I believe it starts at 7 tomorrow.
Yeah, 7 Eastern time.
So we'll try to go at like 3. Not 3. No, not 3. We'll try to go at like 6:30.
Yeah.
6:30 p.m.
6:30 Eastern tomorrow. Second round is 32 picks. Third round, I believe, falls to about 38 picks.
Yes, because of the
year.
compensatory.
Yeah, so we'll be there for both. Yep, 7 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And beforehand we'll talk and give our analysis, as the draft goes on as well. Yeah,
guys, there's some really good talent that fell to the second round. Talent that I wasn't expecting. I'm sure you weren't expecting to fall. We could go on. Yeah. I mean, A.J. Brown is another guy. Yeah. Could have gone in the first round. There are guys that were like early in mock drafts, like people were buzzing about, and they didn't even go tonight. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to go tomorrow or the next day. And regardless, it's all about the fit. We've seen first round busts frequently. We've seen second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. UDFAs, right. They represent the whole league. So, they're more represented than any other classification. But regardless, tomorrow, it's going to be interesting. There are teams like Kansas City. They finally pick. New Orleans. The Bears have like 3 picks in this draft because they traded them all for Khalil Mack.
Yeah, they pick in the third.
Houston picks back-to-back in the second.
It's going to be interesting for sure. We'll be covering it. We'll be giving our thoughts. If today was an indication how it's going to go, it's going to be crazy. Yeah. So, be sure to watch tomorrow. The beginning of it, it's going to be insane. The beginning of the second round.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you for watching tonight as well.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We had a lot of views, honestly. I was looking, like consistent views. Mm-hmm. Twitter, I saw there was a bunch of people over there, and we don't really do Periscope. So we're going to start doing Periscope for sure.
Yeah.
Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch. A lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Sound good?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you guys for watching.